OhaHyou, everyone. Hello. I'm back. I missed you all. I missed streaming. It's been a week. It's been a full week. Actually, 8 days. Because last stream was Sunday. I could have streamed yesterday, but I ended up cleaning. A lot of stuff to clean. I got a lot of stuff to deal with now. The fact that I gotta, get ready for, changing things. My parents are coming this weekend, so yes. A little bit busy yesterday, but that is okay. Now we're back. I'm so happy. Happy to be back again, happy to be streaming, happy to play Katawa Shoujo. We are today going to be starting a brand new route. We have the route of Miss Lilly Satou, our tall, blonde, blind friend. We've seen her a fair amount in both the routes we've done already, because she's Hanako's best friend, and she's Shizune's cousin and former student council member. But what do we know about her? Surprisingly little. I think if you have any pre-existing ideas about Lilly from the two routes we've done so far, you're going to be a little bit surprised by what we uncover in these next 3 streams. Today is, of course, as is the format, Lilly's Act 1 content, because I'm not doing the full Act 1. I just can't. It was 6 hours last time. It was way too much. But we will do all of Act 3. Her Act 3, or Act 2, I mean. Her Act 2 is kind of short. 8 decisions, 8 scenes, 1 decision. I've forgotten how to speak in my way off. My week off. Let's see. We have... Where is Miss Lilly? She's got a decent amount of choices. She's another special one. As we know, Hanako had 1 NSFW scene. Lilly has 3. Another fun fact, there's another character who has 3, that is Miss Emi Ibarazaki. And she was actually who I originally intended to be the 3rd route. I only realized that after I made my announcement on the stream, and then looked in my files for this week's schedule and saw that I had parts 8, 9, and 10 as Emi's route when I said it was Lily's. I am very smart, very cognizant of what I say, and remember things very well. There is one thing you have learned, it is definitely those things, and definitely not the exact opposite. So, regardless, it doesn't really matter what order we do it in. There was only one thing I came in knowing I was going to do, and it was going to be, I'm going to do Rin's route last. I think I might have said it unofficially, but yes, Rin's route will be last because Rin's route is my favorite route. It is one I like to kind of end everything on. I like to, I'm doing a full thing. Like, I did the same thing last time in the before times, if I'm going to refer to it as that. Fun fact about those times as well. My internet died on me the last time I did Lily's Act 4. It died on me right at the end. Like right in the final scene, pretty much. So that made for something. I had to actually cut. I had to use my mediocre video editing skills and cut something together. I don't even have a video editor on this computer right now. I should maybe look into that later. Yes. I think not a whole. Well, actually, okay. I should actually show. I should probably show this off, since I do actually have a schedule for this week. Organize my folders a little bit more. Boom. All right. Boom. Schedule for the week. We've got, of course, Katawa Shoujo today, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, to have a day off in between so I don't destroy my voice, we have Elden Ring. My little prerequisite about Elden Ring, well, not prerequisite, but my little preamble about Elden Ring is the fact that I have already started a character. I'm level 28. I've beaten a couple bosses. I really kind of just put it on the schedule to have something, and I'd like to kind of just start doing more streams like that. Maybe not even numbering them. Just kind of be like, I'm going to play this game. It's going to come out of the blue. Maybe not even scheduled. Who knows? But yeah, I'll have... Stuff's going to change a fair bit after I finish Katawa Shoujo, because I don't want to do another long-form game. Like, because between this and, if I take, like, in Persona 4 Golden, we have two 20-part series. Like, just looking through this, we did exactly 20 parts for Persona 4 Golden. After this week, we'll be at 10 parts for Katawa Shoujo. I've done 13 Monster Hunter streams. I've done 11 Destiny streams. Well, some of them are Twitch VODs. I've done 7 Destiny 2 streams. I kind of want to just... And, of course, there was the 7 Legends Arceus series. But I do think I don't want to kind of grab another super long game until the new Pokemon games come out. Because I'm absolutely going to play the new Pokemon games on stream. Because I am super excited for those. I cannot wait for those. And because there's honestly not many things that have been really sticking out to me. I have a lot of stuff that I still do need to finish up. I'd like to maybe do Nier Automata. It would be my third playthrough of the game. But I think that's fine because I love that game. I want to do P3P when it comes out. Because that'll be super fun as well. And then there's just a couple of smaller games. Like, I think I have Blasphemous I like to play. I have a couple of shorter indie horror games, or indie horror visual novels. Why is my charger fucking with me now? Oh! Seriously, are you dying on me right this moment? Okay. Sorry. Just got a bunch of stuff, so I'd like to just scatter them out in the schedule. But right now, Katawa Shoujo's kind of taken up a majority of my brain space, so we'll finish that one first, obviously. Take this down. Dump. Alright. Actually, I wanna unmute my BGM, throw the audio back on, and pop over to the game screen. And then actually tap into the game. So you can see, we've got our two branching paths so far. Shizune, Hanako. Look through our extras. So a fun thing, by the end of this route, we'll actually have finished the jukebox. Because there is one song left, and I know exactly what it is. It's a very nice one. Gallery. Emmy's stuff, very barren. Hanako's, lots of stuff. Lily's, pretty barren. We only have 3 and a full page. Rin, barren. Shizune, we got almost all her stuff. The only ones that are missing are the cannot be shown scenes. So, we look at our library. We've got, what, 1? Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 in Act 1. All of Hanako's, all of Shizune's. We're almost halfway. So, without any further rambling, it's been 15 minutes and I've been speaking for 10 of them. Time for me to speak some more, but this time we'll be reading Katawa Shoujo. Let's do it. Oh yeah, we also have our... Oh yeah, so Lilly also doesn't have a bad end, so the only thing we have to get is a neutral end. There we go. Those... Start! But now we're gonna skip, because I'm not reading this stuff again. Yeah. Normal stuff. Iwanako confesses. Heart attack. In the hospital, find out we're going to Yamaku. 24-hour nursing staff. The gates. Mr. Mutoi. Answer for this one is always, yeah, of course. See our class. Shizune, Misha, and Hanako, and, what's her name? The runner with only one arm. I can't remember her name now. So, as you might have guessed, when we come up to this choice, the same as Hanako's route, we ask about the library. Because the library is the important thing. And we meet the nurse. He never tells us his name, he's just the nurse. I think we'll find out more about him in Emmy's route. Emmy and the nurse are close, as we figure out through the running sessions. Emmy and the nurse have interacted a lot because, as you might have expected, Emmy requires a little bit more maintenance just because of the upkeep on prosthetics. But this is all stuff that will actually be covered in her route, so not to spoil that much. Ah, the game of Risk. She has a point. Attack aggressively. Always play into Shizune's aggressiveness. We found out a lot about our favorite Shizune. The only Shizune. Hey, it's Lilly! Our first meeting with Lilly. We have tea in the room, and then we find out about the library. In the library, we meet Yuko and Hanako. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. But we startled her anyway, and she takes off. Kenji, again. She was cute. Skip mode. Alright. Kenji rambling on again and again and again. Punch a MGTOW for Kenji. Talk with Hanako. Because, again, how else are we going to meet with someone who's not in our class than by talking with the person who knows her in our class? So. Dun 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 dun. There's Lilly. See, again, the way to get to Lilly. Oh, and then Emmy. I forgot. Emmy bowls you over. Misha storming into the room, giving the teacher a heart attack. The art room where we meet Rin. The best. The best. The best. The best. And the best theme, too. I like parody so much. It's such a good, It is such a good theme. It fits her so well, too. And then... They always answer yes. I'm gonna make our first save, actually. Boom! Waylay. The answer is yes. We will take it more seriously. But don't. Back to skipping. I need to actually check. Okay. I do not have skipping after choices checked. Or skip unread content, I mean. Rin's mural. Go out and run. We meet Emmy again. It's not the same. Or it is the same as the first time. Naked Kenji. Oh god. Remember, he's a Tumblr sexy man. All he has to do is take the glasses off. That's Lilly. And then, ooh, the tension. This is such a fun scene. Alright. So this one does matter. Cut me and Lily some slack, you know. You're siding with Lily, obviously. I don't know why I'm just narrating this. This is pretty obvious on how you get to Lily's route. For the people who haven't seen it before. We've seen all these scenes, though. First episode. Same as Hanako's route, actually. Yep. Kenji's in this class, of course. Yeah. And then this. You might have already guessed as well that every route except Emmy's has you take it easy. I think. Actually, I need to check. Does Rin's? Yeah, even Rin's has you take it easy. So this is the choice that separates you from Emmy's route, actually. Because I think all the other choices are the same. Take it easy. Skip mode. This might not be as long as our other first episode streams, thinking about it. Because a lot of the scenes are actually the same as Hanako's. Rin and Emmy eating with them on the roof. Does your figure have to... I can't wait to do Emmy's route, because Emmy is so fun. Yes, we go into town with Lily for stuff for Hanako. And then we meet Rin. Alright. So, sorry, I'm not in very good condition. I don't think there's any route where... neither of the routes where you have that scene do you choose the other option. Not even to get to the bad or neutral ends. It's kind of crazy. Alright. This is new. Because... If this is actually this is also, so I talked about the divider between Emmy's and the other three routes, because Shizune's doesn't go through that. This is the divider, the one divider between Lily and Hanako. If you go to the library, you meet Hanako. You go to town, you meet Lily. All right. Yep. No text. Following Hanako to the library seems a bit intrusive. There was a reason she left the classroom, after all. And that aside, I do want to catch up with Lily. At the very least, I'd like to thank her for looking out for me, despite her other, obviously taxing duties. I guess I'll walk around town. With any luck, I should be able to find Lily. The exercise will do me some good as well. Walking through the school courtyard to the gate, I give a small nod to a couple of passing classmates, the gesture being returned in kind. Even from here, the shouts of the sports club members can be heard. From the sheer volume of the din, the track must be packed right now. I remember what Lily said yesterday about being dropped right in the middle of a busy time for the school. While I'm trying to get my bearings and catch up on study that I've missed, everyone else is doing normal school activities. The feeling of being a foreigner still hasn't dissipated. At least, not yet. Well, I guess not everything's bad. This is a private school, and that much is easily noticed when walking around outside. Not only are the school grounds huge, but the buildings themselves are immaculate and quite divorced from the dime a dozen concrete blocks of public schools. There's also the fact that there's a much stronger feeling of community here, or at least a friendlier atmosphere. At my old school, it was generally accepted that people would keep to their little clique and be done with it. Eventually, I reach the gate and begin to walk down the road and into town. Well, that was fairly productive. Having seen a fair portion of the town, even including the houses perched on the hills around the outskirts, I decided to take a walk around the park before heading back. Living in the city all my life, the total lack of smartly dressed businessmen and fashionably dressed girls strikes me as incredibly unusual. All that's to be seen are the odd elderly person shuffling along the sidewalk, and assorted busily chatting pairs of middle-aged women outside of small storefronts. Sorry, I'm adjusting my mic. Walking along the road to the park quickly distracts me from them, though, making me realize that I perhaps pushed myself further than I should have done to see as much as I could. As my breath begins to wheeze and my chest tightens more and more, I give up on the prospect of soldiering on. After a quick glance around the park as I enter, I take a seat on a wobbly old bench that I notice near a couple of vending machines. For minutes on end, I sit with my head bent over, forcing myself to take deep breaths. I feel more like an old man than a teenager who should be in the prime of his life. The stay in hospital, the surgery, and the medications must be taking their toll on me. Damn it. Eventually, my breathing returns to normal, and the muscles in my chest loosen. Not without a fair measure of relief. I guess this means the end of my little sojourn, though, in any case. There's a cafe on the far corner, so I'll stop by to quench my thirst before heading back. The Shanghai. You cannot escape it. The Shanghai. Everything exists to lead to the Shanghai. A little bell above the door signals my arrival to an empty counter. For a few months, I stand there, waiting. My eyes every now and again drifting from one end of the counter to the other, searching for a service bell. Eventually, a door some ways behind the counter opens, the person emerging from it taking me by complete surprise. Yuko? Hi, I had no idea you worked here. I really have no idea how to address her either, given that she is technically school staff as well, as apparently a waitress. Yes, She quickly paces up to the counter before flinging her upper half downwards in an overacted bow. Welcome to the Shanghai. May I take your order? Straight down to business, I see. I don't know. Well, some coffee, please? Yes, certainly. I'll make it right away and bring it to you when it's done. Thanks. Yuko's formality takes me aback. She seems to take her job very seriously. Obeying her instructions, I turn around and quickly glance around for a free table. Considering the cafe seems to be empty, this is a simple task to accomplish. As I walk towards a table adjacent to the window, I notice a flash of yellow around one of the table dividers. Sure enough, no more than a glance is needed to ascertain that it's a certain Satoi at the table. That said, I don't recognize the suited figure across the table from her. Blonde, fair-skinned, and only a little shorter, I think she must be a relative. Since the two are all but silent as the suited figure takes a swig from a cup of coffee, I decide to greet Lilly. Some part of my coming here was in order to meet her, after all. Hi, Lilly. Hiseo? Yeah, nice to see you again. The suited girl looks up, noting my uniform with a relaxed smile. Know each other? I guess? It's as good an approximation of our relationship as I can think of. Care to take a seat? She says this to the air beside me, but the message is clear enough and I take a seat beside her. I suppose some introductions might be in order. Hiseo, this is Akira Satoi, my older sister. Akira, this is Hiseo Nakai, another Yamaku student. Looks like my guess was correct. The newly introduced Akira gives a nod, which I return. What I don't return, however, is the almost analytical gaze with which she looks me over. As she does so, Yuko walks up to the table and carefully places the coffee on the table, before bowing and taking her leave. Gently bringing my hand to the side of the cup, I realize that it's already at just the right temperature to drink. After taking a sip, the flavor turns out to be just as good as the temperature. Yuko seems a lot better at this than being a librarian. I take a good long drink before relaxing into the seat. It takes mere seconds for Akira's examination to come to an end. Apparently becoming quickly bored with the activity, she turns to her sister. So, how's school recently? I can't do Akira's voice that well without just doing I can't do an androgynous voice. Seems Akira is entirely unconcerned with someone she doesn't know at all, listening to everything they say. Not that I mind. Leaving them to their chatting, I sit back and continue drinking the pleasantly aromatic coffee. Sounds like it's pretty busy for you then. At least I'm not cooking your meals after school anymore. As they talk, I slowly realize that I'm entirely unable to gauge Lily's emotions through her eyes, as I would for any other person. It becomes slightly unsettling as I subconsciously focus on that fact. Whoa, so cold. Weren't you just cooking for yourself anyway? I only ever got leftovers. That's not the point. Are you managing to feed yourself at least? I can cook without blowing myself up, you know. Mostly. That's... It's fine, it's fine. I need to learn sometime anyway. Lily? Everyone present is momentarily distracted by Yuko, who places a cup of tea on the table for Lily. Taking the moment to glance at her watch, Akira levers herself off her seat and gives me a quick nod. Well, I'd better be off. It was nice talking to you, Lily. Akira, do you have to? Lily looks genuinely mournful at her sister suddenly leaving. It does seem like she might have the wrong idea. Sorry, I need to get back to work. I'll be on my neck if I don't make it back quickly. So informal. Akira's trim and tidy appearance would give anyone the wrong impression of her. Bye, Akira. Come on, don't look so down. I'll be around again. Soon. See yas. With that, she waltzes out of the Shanghai with her hand held high. Lily still looks pretty depressed, so I try to make some small talk in an effort to take her mind off of it. She seems nice. We used to live together, but now that I live at school, we hardly ever see each other. Despite Lily having been quite affable, I still don't really know how much about her. In hindsight, it's surprising just how much she's extracted from me, really. You used to live together? Was it somewhere around here? It was pretty far south, so the trip into Yamaku was fairly long. With her working hours getting longer and Yamaku being so far away, there was little choice in the end but to move into the dormitories. Well, that explains the chatter about cooking. Evidently regaining her composure, she livens back up, at least in part. I take it you're better rested now. Sorry? You sound less exhausted than you did when you first came in. To be able to pick out my breathing like that. She must have pretty good ears. Yeah, ended up walking all over town, despite only planning on taking a short walker down here. Reminded of my thirst from the walk, I lean forward to take a sip. Without further ado, Lily starts on her cup of strong-smelling tea. I guess I'd better get going back to Yamaku. There's only so long I can stall studying for, and I want to get a good night's sleep before the festival. Wow, she really doesn't have many scenes before the festival, huh? Standing from my seat, I take the coffee-stained cup from the table. You're leaving? Yeah, you gonna head back as well? It's getting kinda late. For a moment she pauses before lifting her face over her teacup as if she was looking at me. Yuko, could we have one more coffee, please? Okay, I'll bring it right away. That's not subtle. She gives a short giggle at my frank assessment of her maneuver. It's surprisingly childish and carefree, given her otherwise collected appearance. In the end, though, I have little reason to refuse. To be honest, I can hardly say no. Oh, come on. Stop yawning. All things considered. Giving a manufactured sigh, I take a seat opposite her. Wanting company, then? I'd say it's more that I was wondering. I see she's in questioning mode again. She does seem to be unusually interested in me, or at least curious. Do you have any siblings? Not exactly an unexpected tangent. No, only child, to be honest. The idea of having someone that close makes me a bit envious. Interesting. I raise an eyebrow, which of course goes unseen. The short silence communicates the question well enough. It's just that others have said the same thing before. It's a difficult subject to try and think about objectively, given that I've always had someone like that. I can mostly understand what Lily means, given that it would be hard to place oneself outside of a situation they've been in all their life. Oh, come on, fuck on, man. I'm not that tired. She and her sister must have a pretty close relationship. Taking pains to interrupt us as little as possible, Yuko dutifully comes over and places a cup on the table. Lily thanks her as I sit back, taking in this vexing girl in front of me. Despite always seeming to be on her guard and in control of herself when talking to others, she has an almost childlike curiosity about other people. That said, those rare moments she seems to slightly lower her guard are the most insightful into how she thinks. Reaching forward in for my drink, I realize something I probably should have noticed earlier. I think I'm starting to become kind of curious about her. Despite making a good pace, it's already nightfall by the time I reach the large iron gates in front of the school. While it's nice to have plenty of time to wander around by virtue of living right next to the school, I can't help but get the feeling that very few students actually take the opportunity. Compared to the number of students I see milling around on campus during free time, it's startlingly rare to see anyone around town. Given the large number of accommodations and facilities that the school offers... Oh, come on. Try and get all fucking yawns out. Many of them might simply not see any point in venturing outside, let alone people such as Hanako and Kenji. It makes me wonder if students like Shizune, Misha, and Lily are the exception for the school, rather than the norm. As I wander back to my dorm room, I continue to compare my old school with Yamaku. As I do so, I begin to be surprised that I managed to get even this used to everything that's happened to me. Hey! And scene. Is this the festival now? It is. Okay. Boom. 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 This should be text we've already seen. Yes. Kenji freaking out again, as usual. Yes. Lily. Yeah, there we go. So instead of going to look for Hanako, of course, because in Hanako's route we were focused on Hanako. Imagine that. Fucking completely obvious statement I have just given all of you. You now focus on Lily. Right, I know what I'll do. Even if it's just one person, I'll make the festival more enjoyable for her. As I place the bowl on the counter, I call out to Lily. Ah, Hiseo, you brought it back? Yeah, here. I slide it into her hands and she takes it over to someone who is apparently on cleaning duty. Considering that I didn't see them here before, it's probably a penalty for their tardiness. Also for the scene before this, so basically it's just you walk around the festival and you see things, and Lily's busy with her stand. That's right. Hey, Lily? She perks up and returns to the counter as she hears my voice again, realizing that I'm still here. Want to go see some more of the festival? She puffs her cheeks disapprovingly. It looks kind of cute and in complete contradiction to her usually reserved nature. It takes a few seconds for me to get what she's taking issue with. Whoops. I didn't mean to... Lily giggles at me, exposing her teasing for what it is. You're still not used to the school, are you? She got me. Still, I kind of need to stay with our stall. It's taken until just now to even get everything unpacked. I guess her reluctance shouldn't overly surprise me, considering how much work she's put into this. Everything seems to be running fine now, though. Besides, you've got extra help on hand anyway. A boy in the middle of cooking some soba noodles turns towards us, grinning. Go on, Lils. You've earned yourself a break. We can hold down the fort for now. If you say it's okay, then I suppose so. But if you need any help, then we'll call you. Go on, we'll be fine. Lily finally gives up her resistance as he waves a spatula at her. She feels her way around the back of the stall and picks up her cane on the way. I guess the first thing we should do is look for Hanako. Lily seems kind of worried about her, and I doubt she'd be the kind of person to enjoy milling around in crowds like this all alone. So, I guess we should search for Hanako? Where to, first? The both of us go quiet for a moment to think. Maybe she's in her dorm room? I doubt it. She doesn't keep too many things in there, so she'd have nothing to do. Ah, the library? As good a place as any to search for an avid reader, I suppose. The library it is. We'll check there first, then. Aside from the muffled sounds of the crowd seeping in from outside, the inside of the school seems almost deserted. In order to make sure everyone had enough room, I guess all the events were organized to be held outside, on school grounds. They're definitely quite large by any other school standards. It's nice and quiet in here, isn't it? Yeah, much nicer than the hustle and bustle outside. We take our time and slowly walk through the first floor of the school, eventually reaching the stairs to the second floor. I can't help but notice how Lily anticipates every door and obstacle, her cane remaining still and her hand skating along the hallway railings. You really know this school well, don't you? She smiles and nods straight ahead. I've been here for a few years now, so I know where everything is. The dorms still trip me up though sometimes. I haven't been there as long, and they're not as well laid out as the main building. If I'm remembering right, they used to be unused buildings before being renovated and used as dormitories. That explains why the male and female dorms looked different from the outside, and why their rooms seemed kind of unusual for sleeping quarters. I'd assumed she'd been living in the dormitories since she began attending the school, but now I'm reminded of what she said yesterday. That's right, you mentioned that before. I'd assumed that most of the students here lived in the dormitories once they enrolled. A lot of them seem to, in any case. Lily's expression becomes somewhat harder to read, my questioning evidently touching on a delicate point. Well, how should I say? Everyone has their reasons. Something tells me that one of those with reasons is Hanako, hence her tiptoeing around the answer. My own predicament is yet another such case. I guess it's a choice everyone here would have to make for themselves, or in my instance have made for them. Can't be helped, I suppose. At least Yamaku itself seems like a nice place. It's good to hear you say that. I'd thought you were coming to dislike it. What about you, though? My reversal of Lily's statement takes her by surprise. I've been here for a while, so... It's not that. You just seemed pretty depressed about Akira. What's with that look? Akira's taken. Sorry, Hiseo. Lily never sees how fast my palm meets my face at her sly accusation. Hey, I was worried about you. It's no way to respond to concern. She gives an amused grin. We round the corner of the hallway and enter the library. As we do so, it isn't hard to spot Hanako, considering that the room is completely devoid of anyone else. Given that there are no staff around, I guess there's no need to heed the usual library rules. I call out to her. Hey, Hanako. Hanako is here? As she hears our voices, Hanako's head flicks up from behind a book, probably the same one she'd been reading on Friday. Hiseo? Lily? Just thought we'd drop by. Lily just managed to escape from the noodle stall with a little help. That wasn't really an escape. Hanako gives a small giggle, briefly surprising both of us. I just thought that Lily might not be enjoying the festival. Well, now we can enjoy it together, right? The two nod happily before we set out of the library and towards the festivities. I hand over some change to the girl behind the counter and take the 2 styrofoam cups of tea. I try to accentuate my bow a bit to cover the fact that she's quite obviously deaf. Come to think of it, I probably should have asked for help instead of leaving those 2 in the gardens while I bought drinks. Rinaldi, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you could make it out. We're just at the festival scene for Lily. Trying to juggle the 2 cups of hot tea for them and a can of coffee for myself out of a vending machine isn't exactly easy. With some careful maneuvering, though, I manage to keep everything stable and upright as I walk over to the bench where Lily and Hanako are sitting and chatting. It's actually quite a nice place. Lit only by moonlight, it's tucked away some distance from the main events. Compared to how hot it had been during the day, this spot is also pleasantly cool by now. Smiz? Smins? I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, but thank you, I'm glad you could stop by. Not that it matters all that much. Most of the visitors have moved to areas that are either close to the fireworks or higher on the hill in order to view the display apparently planned. Welcome back, Hiseo. Her ears are good. Not exactly close, and even Hanako hadn't noticed me. Here you go. Sorry it's instant, but that's all they had left by now. Hanako gingerly takes a cup from my right hand, and I gently place the other into Lily's outstretched hands. Did you enjoy the festival then, Hiseo? Yeah, it was pretty fun. An honest answer. Much of the food may have been somewhat subpar, but it was a lot of fun in the end, especially with Hanako and Lily. In fact, I think those 2 may have enjoyed themselves even more than I did. With both Lily and me around, much of Hanako's withdrawn nature around others died down enough for her to enjoy herself. Oh, so, okay. 44, 45. Just a flashing lights warning. I gotta jot this down for the VOD. Where did I write that down? I'll just put it here. 44, 45, 2. As we sit drinking, the whistle of the first firework rings out before it explodes into a vibrant shower of blue against the night sky, heralding the beginning of the end for the festival. Enthusiastic shouts can be heard from the crowds scattered around the school grounds, celebrating them. For minutes on end, Hanako and I watch the fireworks overhead, as Lily blissfully listens to them with her eyes shut. Red, green, yellow, star-shaped, circular, and patterned, and all manner of shapes and colors fill the air, one after the other, and dance across the sky. No place near where I lived put on such a lavish display. Festivals like this were a thing of the past in such a metropolitan area. To be seeing such a sight with these two, it's probably the happiest I've been in a long while. So, that's it. The festival's finally ending. That was not Lily's voice. Yeah. She gives a delicate, wistful sigh. As much as I might complain about all the stuff we have to do, it's still sad that we'll have graduated before the next Yamaku festival. I walk forwards and stand beside Lily, gently resting a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, we still have Tanabata later in the year, right? You're right. It would be nice to go there when it comes. Minutes of silence pass with only the blasts of fireworks to be heard. Seeing these two reminds me of those words, advice Lily had given me as we walked into town together. Cherish the opportunity to make new friends, huh? Hey, Lily? She turns her head slightly to show that she's listening. Hanako's gaze still firmly fixed on the Technicolor fireworks bursting overhead. Mind if I join you two for tea every now and again? The smile on her face is more than enough to see her answer. It would be a pleasure, Hiseo. Yay! 47. New cutscene. Act 2. Past. I have to be completely honest with everyone here. That was a lot of spoilers for the future. That was a lot of, not spoilers, but hints at the next couple routes. Alright, let me... make our save. Scene 1 of Act 2, Earl Grey. Happy story, yes. Lily's good end is one of the happiest in this game, I think. It's very, very sweet. I wake to the annoying din of my alarm clock, its bright red numerals lighting up my face. It's the same alarm clock I had at home, one of those few remaining artifacts from my days before coming to Yamaku. I had hoped that using it would help ease my transition into this new life. No such luck, though. Groggily dragging myself out of bed, I wipe the sleep out of my eyes, then reach over to my desk. I open a couple of the bottles of medication strewn across it and swallow a few pills dry. By now, the process is starting to become automatic, something I should be glad for, given their purpose. Feeling much more awake than before, I wander into the bathroom. While the shower warms up, my mind begins to wander as my new daily routine begins once again. The bright colors of the fireworks fill my mind, as do the two girls with whom I spent my time watching them. It feels strange to be moved so much by people I know so little about. Then again, I suppose these aren't normal circumstances. At least I have someone to talk to now, aside from my schoolmate next door. With the time left before school begins today waning, I begin to get ready for class. That is a weird sentence. Walking through the door into the classroom, I notice that I'm still somewhat early. I see about 5 or 6 students milling around, most of them looking as if they'd rather be still in bed. It's at times like this that I appreciate being a morning person. That said, 2 students in particular seem just as perky as always. Hi Shizune, hi Misha. I suddenly realized that my greeting would be lost on the former, so quickly followed up with a wave. She doesn't seem overly bothered. Or interested, for that matter. Hello, Hee-chan. Are you feeling well? I can only assume her greeting comes from Shizune. It's hard to tell if she's speaking as herself or Shizune sometimes. Better than most everyone else, I guess. You two seem bright and chipper. Misha signs this back to Shizune as I say it, listing a somewhat terse answer, if her sharp and rapid arm movements are any indication. Considering that these two made such a big deal out of the festival preparations, I probably should have chosen my words more carefully. Since you're a new student, we've been cutting you some slack. Please don't expect this kind of task dodging to be allowed in the future. Misha looks as if she's about to add her own comment, but quickly goes back to interpreting as Shizune continues unabated. Well, your contribution to Class 3-2 stall is appreciated. Huh. Word sure got around quickly. That or these two have their fingers on the pulse of the school. We would prefer your efforts to be focused on the task at hand, namely your own class. I don't know what I'm doing with Misha's voice now. As much as I hate to admit it, they do have a point. Before I can respond, though, Shizune adds something more, which draws a smile from Misha. Did you enjoy the festival, then? Lecture over, I guess. Yeah, it was good. Did you two enjoy it? Then he gives a short nod as Misha grins and bounces her head up and down. The contrast, side by side, is amusing. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice more students starting to trickle into the classroom. A quick glance at my watch confirms that they're a few minutes late. I look over to Hanako's seat and realize that she's already there, and contentedly reading a book. It makes me wonder just how long she's been there without me noticing. With heavy footsteps coming up the hallway signaling Mutoi's arrival, our idle talking comes to an end, and I take my seat next to Misha. As the door slides open, he strides through with a ponderous gait. His posture is even worse than usual, and his eyes are barely staying open. I guess my quip to Lilly and Hanako about the staff was misplaced. Everyone opens their books as he reaches his desk, and the first class of the new week begins. I rub my eyes as the lunch bell rings out, glad for the temporary reprieve from work.
I want to see. Okay, tell the truth.
I'm entirely unsurprised when I look over to the door and see Lilly standing there, cane in hand, patiently waiting for Hanako. Considering her acceptance of my request to join them yesterday, I decide to spend my lunchtime with them, rather than eat alone. Hanako moves surprisingly fast to meet her companion, and the two enter the hallway before I can catch up. Lilly's head turns slightly, registering the sound of footsteps behind her. As Hanako notices and follows her lead, she almost jumps in surprise. Hiseo? Hello, Hiseo? Hi, sorry if I startled you. Lilly turns to greet me, helped in her orientation by Hanako. Good afternoon, Hiseo. Are you joining us? If it's no trouble. There's not much else to do, really. Lilly gives a small nod as if to silently brush away any idea that it would be troubling in the least. We descend one set of stairs and walk down the hallway to the usual room, our pace somewhat quicker than usual thanks to Lilly using Hanako for direction, rather than her cane in the railings. As expected, it's deserted. The sounds of the other clubs can only barely be heard as sunlight streams into the room from outside. Looking around the room, I notice a couple of empty easels propped up against a wall that I don't think were there before. The art club must use this room as extra storage. Should I get the chess set out? Hanako's voice seems less tense when she's directly addressing Lilly. Yes, I'll make tea while you sort the pieces. Hanako, you just be doing a quick walk. She's jumpy. I'll It's not the same as Hanako's route where she was used to us. We're just kind of intruding on her lunch. I can do that for you if you'd like. She ponders the offer for a moment before smiling, confirming that I've made the right choice. Her face is remarkably easy to read. Very well, thank you. She slides her retracted cane into the handle of her bag and sets it against one of the table legs before taking a seat opposite Hanako. As I prepare tea for the three of us, I can hear the small wooden pieces being set on the board. I wonder how good Lilly is at chess, given her circumstances. By the time I place the steaming teacups onto the table, Lilly and Hanako have already moved their first pieces as they nibble on sandwiches and rice balls from their respective bags. I note that the chessboard they're using has holes in the middle of each square and pegs on the bottom of the pieces, and has each dark square slightly raised. Watching Lilly's fingers skating over the board, tracing out the positions of the pieces, makes me marvel a little at the simple ingenuity of the design. It must be specifically made for blind players. Here you go.
That's right.
Hanako gives a small nod as I put down the cup next to her side of the board. Lilly's hand ventures sideways slightly, so I gently place the cup touching the tips of her fingers, a gesture she seems to appreciate. I finally take a seat and silently sip my tea as the two play. The contrast in their appearance while playing is interesting to watch. Hanako looks closely at the board, her face one of focused concentration. Lilly, on the other hand, keeps her head level and maintains her calm neutrality. Lilly's gentle voice addresses both of us as she continues to play. How is class, now that the festival's over? I look to Hanako to see whether she'll answer first, but see that she's doing the same. Not great. Half the class seemed to be dozing off, even including the teacher. Not to mention a test on top of all that. Hanako quietly adds her own agreement with this. I could imagine that being a bit difficult for you, being a transfer student. Well, I think I did fine. Other than the shock of a test coming so early, science is probably my best subject. How'd you do, Hanako? Me? Okay, I guess. Hanako's too sincere to be able to pull off lying very well. That much is obvious. Lee's smile slips very slightly. From her reaction, Hanako mustn't be skilled enough at academics to do very well without preparation. How'd your class handle it, Lilly? It went surprisingly well, actually. Only one student was absent, which was better than what the teacher expected. It was probably Kenji. With the topic all but run dry, the two concentrate on their chess game once again. I can't say I've ever liked the idea of chess as a spectator sport, but given its unique nature, for once I'm wrapped in watching the game unfold. As time wears on, both of them demonstrate decent skill at playing the game. Having captured two more pawns than Hanako, Lilly has the upper hand, but only slightly. Until Hanako makes a strange move with her queen. Seizing upon this lapse in judgment, Lilly takes the piece with her knight. Without hesitation, Hanako moves a pawn to take Lilly's rook on the opposite side of the board, and promotes to queen. Lilly's face falters as her fingers move over the pieces, and she realizes that she just fell to Hanako's trap. It's a little distracting to have the board traced out after each move, even if it's out of necessity. Judging by Hanako's lack of reaction, she must be used to this. She and Lilly must have played at least a few games of chess against each other, after all. Check. It's not bad at all. Nice, Hanako. The compliment causes her to flower into a surprised blush. Thank you. I didn't think it would work. I look over to Lilly. 100th Assassin! You did finally catch a stream. Welcome! We have just started Act 2 of Lilly's route, so you haven't missed much. The only real thing of note that happened is that Hoshiuta decided to start joining Lilly for tea. That's it. That's the route. Her Act 1 was very short, actually. It's not even been an hour and we're already on Act 2, and Act 2 is only, the true canon route of Katawa Crash. Could you possibly be referring to the final route? The secret route you get by choosing all the wrong decisions? Could that be what you're referring to? Because I can't wait to show that one off too. That one's gonna be really funny. I look over to Lilly, her fingers having just finished tracing out the position of her remaining pieces in an attempt to extricate her king from this bind. I think this is checkmate. That was not Lily's voice. Or the final root of obscure flash game that may be dead forever. Wait, is Katawa Crash a I actually don't know what this is. Like, I thought you were just making a joke on the name, but... Oh, okay, no, I see. A fan-made collision game which features characters from the visual novel Katawa Shoujo. Oh, okay, so it's like one of those... It's that old kind of Flash style where you just... Okay, like kick the president or whatever like that, yeah. It's way more engaging than it's allowed to be. Maybe I will download that and play that a little on the final stream. That could be fun. Automated external defibrillator. The human pinball. Hitting Shizune automatically ends the game. 60-degree vector. It's really similar to the move of Ken Masters from Street Fighter. Mutoi slows Hiseo down. The ultimate rare event is a limited drill works. Amazing. Oh my god, there's a Yukari version of... Yukari Misha is... Oh my lord. Flambe run a unlimited drill works. Misha, oh my god. The Yukari Misha. I gotta find an image of that actually. Hold on. I wonder. I need to see if this is a standalone PNG now. Okay. Yukari Misha. Yukari is so funny. Please give me the standalone PNG, please. I need it. It's probably in the games file somewhere, but I don't have the game, so... I can't find just a static PNG. And they don't... Okay, here we go, we found something. It's a full one, but it's perfect. Alright, 1 second. Alright, just a second. This is probably going to be huge when I actually put it on the screen. Oh, it's perfect. Let me send it to the back behind. You want to send it behind the... Perfect. There we go. This will stay on here for as long as I want it to. Take it easy. I can't do the Yukari. What are you doing, VTuber? Super sexy boy big owned by Neko Mimi One-chan. Welcome to the stream. You came in a perfect time. Yukari Misha is here. Perfect name, by the way. No notes. Absolutely perfect. It's, about the same as, eating Mike Tyson's ass. Fantastic. I was putting, good old, Take It Easy Misha on the screen. This would have been perfect for last route, but she can stay there now. This is our award for beating Shizune's route. That's what I'm gonna say. Okay. Back to the route. I take another look at the board to confirm. Sure enough, her king has nowhere to escape without being threatened by another piece. My earlier question as to which of them is better at this has just been answered. So it is. Lily gives a small sigh as Hanako smiles. From their reactions, this seems like a fairly usual result. How long have you two been playing? Since I was young. Lily nods at Hanako's brief answer. Hanako taught me how to play soon after I met her. I can beat her every now and then, but that's a rarity. I don't seem to have the right mindset for it. If Lily came to Yamaku at the start of high school and met Hanako when she moved to the dorms, that means she's only been playing for about 1 year. After seeing Hanako's level of play, I'm not too surprised Lily has trouble beating her. But she's better at languages than I am, so... Lily gives an appreciative, if slightly amused smile at Hanako's quick reversal of her compliment. Well, that's how it is. Much to everyone's surprise, the bell suddenly rings, heralding an end to the lunch break. That game lasted longer than I thought it did. Same. I guess we'd better get back to class. Hanako's already in the middle of packing up, so I take Lily's bag and offer it to her. To my surprise, she takes it and nods, but then places it back down on the table. Hiseo, may I make a request? Sure, go ahead. Would you mind if I were to quickly feel your face? No. Go ahead, I don't mind. The question takes me severely off guard, but once I regain my composure, it seems sensible enough. So far, Lily's had no idea what I actually look like, and this would be her only way to find out. Boop. She booped him on the nose. Give him a little boop. The little nose boop. Lily raises her right hand, which I take in mine, and guide to my face before letting go. The room is entirely silent as Lily's hand moves over and around my features, from my chin to my cheeks, to everywhere else. I expected this to feel a lot more disquieting than it does. I suppose that's because the action is entirely a matter of practicality, being functionally no different to simply looking at someone's face. Gotta boop the homie's nose to learn their face. Exactly. You understand. You get it. You got the smarts. Manji, welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it out. You you missed our little Yukari Misha sidetrack. Her hand is soft, but what takes me by surprise is the length of her fingers, not to mention how sure even the slightest of her movements are. I have no doubt that her level of tactile feeling would be far beyond mine. Her hand briefly runs once through my hair before retreating. I'm sure that every inch of my face has been committed to her memory. It's only now, too, that I realize Hanako has been silently watching the entire time. Yeah, we're gonna be mostly lurking admittedly, but I do love your little streaming companion with you today. Yes! Just reminding you to, take it easy. Take it easy. Enjoy your lurk. Glad you could, make it out and listen. Thank you for letting me do that, Hiseo. And if I might add, I think you are quite handsome. I blush a little at her remark before raising a questioning eyebrow. But if you can't see how... Just because I can't see, that doesn't mean I don't have my own preferences. Oh, she's not who you all think she is. It's funny because, like, when you go through the couple routes, you don't actually do hers first. You think she's all serious and proper, half Scottish, half Japanese. You think she'd be very proper and not prone to those little things, but that's the fun thing about Lily's route. We'd better go now. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess we'll see you later then, Lily. Walking through the hallways back to our classrooms, I notice that Hanako seems quieter than before, but also more comfortable. Lily, her hand on Hanako's shoulder, seems to pick up on her assured pace as well, smiling as they walk. If I could spend the rest of my time at Yamaku like this, I don't think it'd be so bad. All that's needed for joy are small exchanges of happiness, after all. When you have Ken Ashcorp cameo to sing a song about Beskar... I think I know what song that is. I think that's my least favorite Ken Ashcorp song. I have to remember what it's called. Yeah. It's his shortest, and it's the one I don't like. I don't like those jokes. I have to be honest with you. I actually hate those jokes. Because it feels really mean-spirited. Those are... I don't like those because they're very mean-spirited. They're not... No. I like everything Ken Ashcorp does, except that song. That was back when he was forever pandering, too. I literally have a ton of his songs on my phone, actually. I want to see what is the exact number? Yeah, I have 28 of Ken Ashcorp songs on my phone. I like his stuff a lot. He was one of the first, like, internet musicians I actually heard. And the fact that he and Pippa are now, like... Or the fact that he and Pippa are friends is, like... It breaks my little 2012 brain. But I think it's very, very cool that... That fucking song about Pippa was ridiculous. Pippa is so ridiculous. As I reach my desk and set my bag beside it, I realize something. Or, rather, my stomach does. I was so busy with those two, forgot to buy lunch. What a good end to that scene. You get a good line like, all that's needed for joy are small exchanges of happiness. And then you get, oh, I forgot to eat lunch. £1 It's funny, these are all British things, but Lily is Scottish. I think they kind of just should have called her British. Saturday, my second most favorite day of the week. This is almost entirely due to the fact that it is the day with the second least amount of school, with classes ending at the beginning of lunch. I always did like those half days. I know my high school would do it. It was originally Wednesdays half days, and then we switched it to, and then it switched to Friday half days in the school district. So it's actually a full school district thing where you'd have half a day, so you'd have 4.5 days of class. And then when we had a bunch of snow days, we'd have to deal with the fact that it would be, you'd lose so many half days because they'd have to do it to make up. Actually, they'd also do it with 2-hour delays. And 2-hour delays are much worse than half days because you still do so much more school. Because it's like 3.5, 4 hours of school after the 2-hour delay. Or that gets cut out after the half day, but you still have to do all that with the 2-hour delay. You just get to maybe sleep for another hour and a half. 2-hour delays suck. I hate those. Just Midwest things, you know. No 2-hour delays. I open my door confidently, myself being more than confident of being able to get enjoyment out of the fine weather and shorter class length. I confidently stride down the hallway and down the stairs to the lobby of the male dorms. I confidently look behind me to see whose footsteps are approaching. I lose my confidence in this day being enjoyable. Hey man, what's up? Not much, I guess. Just looking forward to the afternoon. You? He wraps an arm around my slumped shoulders far too comfortably. Something's up. Let's step outside, shall we? I was just about to, before you stopped me. He doesn't take my reaction to his theatrics well. Ignoring him, I walk outside and start down the steps. It doesn't take too long for him to catch up with me again. I wonder if he wants money, or to rant about another conspiracy. Maybe both. I've got a bone to pick with you. Uh-huh. It's
about that blonde.
Sin Spider! What's up, boss? How you doing, Chief? Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it out. We're on the second scene of Lilly's route, so you haven't missed too much.
It's about that blonde. You know who I'm talking about.
Conspiracy it is. For a moment I contemplate feigning ignorance, but realize this will go quicker if I just let him get it all out. Lilly, the one from your class?
You're on first-name terms with her?
He looks positively shocked at this development. Did he not expect me to be able to answer? He gathers himself and coughs into his fist. Dramatically, like everything he does.
Well, never mind that. I'm here to warn you. You know, man to man.
Warn me about what? Lilly?
Yeah, you don't know her, man.
It's mostly true. I've only known her and Hanako for less than 2 weeks, and even then we've just been exchanging banal chatter about school as we while away lunch. I'm pretty sure you don't either.
That's not the point. You're the one spending inordinate amounts of time with her.
It distresses me that someone like Kenji, who's probably as far out of the loop... reference. It's his theme name. As far out of the loop as one could possibly get, knows about such a trivial fact as who I choose to befriend. Then again, I am a transfer student, and she's not only the representative of their class, but also a tall blonde. Garbage, welcome to the stream! Glad you can make it. Okay, I keep seeing the cat in the box waiting emoji, and I feel like I should make that one of my emotes when I get emotes. I think that would be cute. Just a little Yuki in the box. Maybe have a variation that says only dumb idiots sit in this box. That would be a good one. Maybe I should appreciate this ranting as a warning that the rumor mill exists in this school and that I'm firmly within it. It's just lunch. Nothing special.
Look, man. Under the bridge. See this bridge? You're under it. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do to get intel.
Little Yuki in a box emote. Yo, yeah, it'd be cute. Yuki in the box and then the dumb idiot box too.
I just want to make sure you don't end up too far under the bridge.
You're losing me, Kenji.
That's okay. Lots of people get lost. That's why I'm here to help. Just be careful around her, okay? She looks all harmless on the outside, but I've heard shit. Bad shit. You know the student council, right?
He seems to involuntarily shudder as he says the words. Putting him and Shizune together in a room is an amusing mental exercise. I wonder if they've met. Oh, yes, they have. Yeah, Shizune and Misha are in my class. I seem to have dodged the draft, though.
Good, man. Good, man. But this blonde, she was there. In the student council. Right damn there.
I see. And
she's not there now. Seriously, think about it. Something must have gone down.
I stop walking for a moment, giving the idea more thought than I probably should. It would explain that fight the two had, at least in part. Wait, no, not really. Even leaving the student council would need a catalyst. In the end, it doesn't explain much at all, other than the fact that their feud goes back some ways. I guess you have a point. I'm not seeing how that really affects me, though.
Okay, now field this one. Lily's foreign, obviously.
Obviously.
Now, what nationality is she?
I open my mouth to give the answer, but realize that I have none. In fact, I've given the matter very little thought. Given that she has no accent, and acts perfectly Japanese, I suppose it never really seemed important. Now that he mentions it, though, I am rather curious. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe English? They like tea. I probably shouldn't resort to stereotypes, but that's the only lead I have.
You're not thinking. Luckily, you have me here to think for you.
Gee, thanks. He brushes off the quip effortlessly.
Now answer me this. Who has lots of social power? is filthy stinking rich. You know, blondes are all rich, right? Has a long history of disputes and used to belong to a much larger organization.
The Roman Catholic Church?
Well, okay, there's that.
That's the stupidest possible answer you could have given.
There's also the mafia. Come on. Rich, foreign. There's no way she doesn't have connections to them.
I have reason to doubt the logic of his deductions, but he shows no signs of stopping.
So do you know where I think she's from?
Italy?
Mainland Italy's small time, dude. She has to be from Sicily. All those mafioso types come from there. Wait, no. Russia. Damn, this could be bad. The mafia there is serious business, man. Ex-KGB everywhere, paramilitaries, hardcore smuggling, and...
Wait, stop. Just slow down a sec. What point are you trying to get at here?
You don't know what she'll do, man. I won't get in your way. Agents don't operate like that. But I just want you to be careful. When the time comes, we'll need all the help we can get. I don't want to lose you, comrade.
Well, at least he's concerned for me. Kinda. I wave goodbye to him as we separate out to our respective classes, but I'm not sure that he sees the gesture. There was our good dose of Kenji rambling. Fucking psycho. He's so crazy. Piling my books into my bag, I catch a glimpse of the library books I'd borrowed last week. I might as well return them, considering they took all of 2 days to finish. I briefly consider inviting Hanako along to the library, but she's already gone. Okay, no more yawning. It'll probably be better for my studying if I'm alone anyways. With a quick stretch and a wave to a couple of classmates who give the same to me, I make my way out of the classroom. As I open my bag and shove the books through the return slot in the front counter, I notice a strange person working behind the desk. Old and graying, she must be Yuko's replacement when she's working at the cafe. I begin looking for a free table, a task made somewhat difficult considering that despite there not being many students in here, they're all sitting at their own tables. Noticing a familiar head of hair, I walk over to one near the braille section. It's hard to tell whether Lily's concentrating hard or not, her placid expression holding perfectly still as her finger slides across the dot-filled pages of her book. Hi, mind if I sit here? Oh, no problem at all. She trails off, evidently still focused on her business at hand. Ah, Hiseo. She gives a nod of greeting as I sit opposite her at the table, pluck a chemistry textbook out of my bag, and quickly thumb to the chapter we're covering in class. For a while, we sit there and read, each in our own way. Seeing her reminds me of what Kenji said this morning, though. That and the fact that I've never seen someone read in Braille before makes me keep throwing glances at her. I kind of feel guilty about it, given that she has no way to realize I'm doing so I decide to just ask her about it. Her lineage isn't exactly a state secret, after all, and there is another thing I've only just noticed from her movements. Hey, Lily, mind if I ask a question? Not at all. Is anything wrong? I was just wondering. You're at least part foreign, right? She gives a small giggle before setting down her book. I've always been amused at how squeamish people are about that. Akira's mentioned how much she and I look different from most others before. The details are a bit complicated, but I'm half Japanese, half Scottish. Scottish? That was not exactly my first guess. It takes some effort not to blurt it out loud. I try to conjure images of the place in my mind. I think as far as the UK goes, Scotland isn't bad to live in, but I'm not really sure. My first guess of England was surprisingly close, at least geographically. What the fuck was I trying to say there? That does leave another question, though. But you have no accent. That's where the details begin. I was born and raised in Japan, despite my mother being foreign. Ah, I get it. Hold on, if she moved to the dorm simply due to Akira working longer hours, so they don't live near the school? She gives a small sigh, as if she didn't expect me to go any deeper. Was her previous frankness just a front? Not exactly. It's been a long time since we've actually met. I feel like I'm not getting the whole story, but I don't really want to go unduly prying into her situation. Her about face shows she feels kind of awkward about it. So, do you speak much English? To be honest, I don't know that much about Scotland, but at least I know that's the main language there. Takes her a moment to collect herself, appreciating the change in topic. That's right. My family mostly used Japanese around the house when I was young, but they made sure Akira and I knew our Scottish side just as well. I'm fluent in the language, but I'm also studying it in school, to keep my skills up and to have the qualifications on paper, mainly. So you're bilingual? That's pretty impressive. I wouldn't go that far. Having parents who can speak the language is a large advantage, and English books in Braille aren't too hard to buy or import. With Yuko's help, of course, or at least. There's a relatively high demand for local English teachers here anyway, which also gives me some motivation to learn it as well. Demand for English teachers. For a moment I wonder why she brought this up. You're planning to be an English teacher? She gives an enthusiastic nod. Must be nice, having such a definite future in mind. I've never really given much thought to mine, so I'm kind of envious. What's wrong? It's just, I could see you as a teacher pretty easily. It suits you. For a moment she's speechless. She lowers her face a little and lets out a nervous giggle, something I've never seen her do before. With Lily's role as a class representative and her dependable nature, teaching does seem to be a line of work fitting her personality. Sorry, that was probably a little much. It is true, though. Waving her hand in front of her face dismissively, she quickly recovers. It's not that, it's just... only one person's ever said that to me before. A short, somewhat awkward silence follows the discussion. Without knowing it, I ended up steering into a troublesome topic again. She tried to cheer her up a little. It was me who went and got her brooding, after all. Want to go grab lunch at the cafeteria after this? It might perk her up a bit, or at least take her mind off her apparently complicated family situation. Going by her smile, it seems to have the intended effect. I appreciate the thought, but the food there... Quite a quick redirection of the conversation. She does have a point, though. The food there isn't the greatest. Maybe the Shanghai. We could ask Hanako if she wants to come as well. Ah. What is it? I almost forgot until you reminded me. Hanako's birthday is coming up soon, and I was going to go shopping in the city for a present tomorrow. That's an invitation. I'd be happy to accompany you. The ability to get more used to the layout of the city would probably be a good thing. I have barely set foot in there, so I'd be hopelessly lost by myself. She gives a nod, signaling that she happily approves of this plan for Sunday. We eventually get back to our books, though before I begin reading again, I steal one last glance at her. Maybe I've been thinking on my situation too much. After all, everybody here would have their own unique circumstances. The chance to get outside and clear my head will probably do me good.
Yay! So yes, Hanako's birthday is yet another plot point.
Presence and pressure. Oh, I think I know who we meet in this chapter. Your scene. I'll go through every word except the one that it actually is. Bored of standing in place and watching the television in a shop window, I pull myself away from the tacky display with little effort. After living at Yamaku, the city seems like an entirely different world. No running in the halls. Calm and orderly conduct is to be used at all times in the classrooms. Students are to exit rooms after checking both directions for oncomers. Elevators are reserved for movement-impaired students. Single file on stairs. Compared to such strict, almost regimental standards, the city's shopping arcade might as well be a strange country. While the school may have its fair share of hustle and bustle during the festival, the outside world is much different. It's strange. Having lived in a metropolitan city before my accident, this should feel more natural than Yamaku and the surrounding town ever could. Yet it feels foreign somehow. The elevated walkways and tall buildings, each adorned with a billboard taller than any 3 people, don't do anything to distract me from the passing crowd reactions. Lilly keeps one hand on my shoulder, the other holding her cane, which taps the ground with a metronome-like steadiness. Looking over to her, that neutral smile of hers still holds. Having only seen her in school uniform, I'd not have recognized her as she sat on the bench waiting for me to come, if not for her cane propped up against it and her distinctive hair. I can't tell whether they're glancing at her due to her height, her foreign looks, her obvious blindness, or all 3. Not that any of those would make the situation any less uncomfortable than it is. "Do you have any ideas of where to look first, Hiseo?" Her soft voice breaks me out of my line of thought. I can't imagine that she's failing to notice the attention she garners, but she seems unfazed by it. I get the feeling she's the type to enjoy walking outside, so she might be used to it by now. Not really. This is my first time in this city, so I've got no idea of where to go. She furrows her brow in thought, planning a route for us to take. And come to think of it, a way to communicate it. Something I'd noticed in the time I've been with her is how, when deep in thought, she lacks close to any form of body language to show it. Her expression may change, but not a hint of movement shows. She seems to have little in the way of sweeping physical gestures in general, though, so I've assumed it's part of her reserved nature. "Is there a large electronics store near here?" Took a quick look around, mostly finding clothing stores. After a few seconds, I notice a store with a bright blue sign some distance away that fits the description. Oh, it's Best Buy! We're gonna go to Best Buy, everyone! Oh, everybody loves Best Buy. Yep, it's just a bit ahead of us. Should we go in that direction? Thankfully, it's just the information she needed. With a nod, we start off and head towards Lilly's unknown destination, landmarks being our guide. Here you go. 1 vanilla, 1 chocolate. I hand the money over the counter and take the cones to the railing that Lily's sitting on. I can't believe I let her trick me like this. She not only led me to an ice cream stall, but also got me to buy her some. At least she gave me the money for hers. Sure enough, she's patiently waiting where I'd left her. I guess she was planning on making the day an event, rather than a simple shopping trip. I call out to her and slowly place the vanilla cone in her outstretched hands, being careful to make sure she has good hold of it before letting go. At least her tastes are fairly normal. I was worried she'd ask for some weird flavor when she first asked. Here's the change. It's okay, keep it. I moved to protest, but realized the futility of doing so over such a small amount. I slipped the coin into my pocket, supplementing my meager allowance ever so slightly. Lilly shows no signs of wanting to get up, so I take a seat beside her and start eating my own ice cream. Summer weather is nice. Hopefully it will hold out for a while. You too. I'm beginning to think I'm the only person who prefers winter. Contemplate her statement for a long moment. Yeah, I think you might be. It draws the intended reaction. She's cute when she's pouting. Still, I can't really imagine what's so good about winter. You can't go out without bundling up, and you still freeze anyway. I used to live further north, where there would be plenty of snow to play in, so it's a little nostalgic. I don't like the heat very much either. At least you can wear a skirt, so don't complain about that. She gives an amused giggle as we both get back to finishing off our already melting cones. I idly sit and watch the crowds going by as we eat, catching bits and pieces of conversation. Oh, come on. Stretch as well. It's been an hour and a half. Looking to Lilly, I see her dutifully licking her ice cream from the top downwards, blissfully unaware of the fact that it's beginning to melt. It's melting. Where? Down a bit. She lowers her mouth from the top of the cone, but has no idea of exactly where the ice cream's dripping. What follows is a game of guiding her left and right until she finally finds it. To any onlooker, it must seem absolutely bizarre. A girl with her eyes closed, turning her cone over and over as the guy next to her gives instructions. A strange variant of childhood blindfold games, maybe. In good time, we finally finish our treats, and while away the time conversing casually. Caught mid-sentence, Lily perks her head in a trademark manner. It's an unmistakable sign that something's caught her attention. Ah. What is it? Is Akira somewhere over there? I think I heard her. I raise an eyebrow as I look in the direction where she's facing, somewhat doubtful of her ability to pick out Akira's lone voice in the dim. Sure enough, though, the blonde girl in a suit can be seen through the tiny gaps between people walking every which way. I raise a hand and wave, trying to catch her attention. Satoi! Hey, Satoi! She stops in her tracks and looks towards me, evidently noticing my calls. As she does, I notice someone walking beside her. I can't get a good look at whoever it is, though, before the two begin walking towards where we are. As they reach us, Lily and I stand and dust ourselves off. Akira? Hey, you two! It's Hideki! Let's go! Hideki's back! She nods toward me, a gesture which I quickly return. My gaze shifts towards the young girl next to her, and our eyes meet. As they do, Akira plops a hand onto her head, a move which doesn't seem to faze her. I don't believe we've met. I'm Hideki. Pleased to meet you, Isao. A guy's name, huh? Guess I just dodged a bullet there. He bows, somewhat restrained by Akira's hand being on his head. Oh, Hideki's here too. Are you well? Akira's been taking very good care of me, thank you. Akira grins as to affirm the point and rubs his head hard, dragging it around in a circular motion. His dreary face during this is somewhat amusing. Uncle's out on business again. I'm just taking him around town for today. I'd have preferred to be spending the day on a date with my boyfriend, but... Hideki gives a cough to try and redirect Akira's thoughts. As he does so, though, I find mine wandering. They're related? And further, as first cousins? I suppose that explains why she's taking care of him, in any case. Come to think of it, Hideki, how did you know my name? Akira told me. Being a Yamaku student, I suppose you're disabled in some way. Not everyone in Yamaku's disabled. Which I only learned a handful of days ago. He gives silent thanks to Shizune and Misha for their stream of information about how the school works. Because of them, I found out that since the school will accept practically anybody suffering from non-mental disabilities, it doesn't discriminate against healthy people either. It seems unlikely that many in good health would enroll there, though. While the standard of education is pretty high, it's extremely isolated and very much focused on helping disabled students. You're dodging the question. Damn, he's sharp. Before I can say another word, though, he decides to take a stab at it himself. If I were to call it myself... Your heart? Akira looks mildly curiously at me, her interest piqued as well. It sure was a lucky guess. How did you... You show no missing limbs or deformities, so external disabilities are out. Considering the lack of any strange mannerisms, it's unlikely that you had any mental disability. But Yamaku doesn't take mentally disabled students. I know. Leaving that aside, the only possibility left is that of internal disabilities. I didn't know which one you might bear, so I guessed. Correctly, as it turns out, and your reaction confirmed my guess. More than a little bemused, I look to Akira. She grins and shrugs, obviously taking some enjoyment out of her partner's deductions. He's sharp, yes, but more than a little unsympathetic. Logical, but lacking in tact. His attitude reminds me of Shizune in a way, as do his looks. May I ask why you're staring at me? Surely I'm not that unusual a specimen. Does he not know how unusual he looks? I could overlook the spats and clothing as just being coincidental, but the ribbon in his hair is really too much. This is entirely besides the point, though. Sorry, you just remind me of someone. Akira gives him a sharp jab with her elbow. Told you you're not that much different from her. He coughs into his hand to try and maintain an upright and serious demeanor. I see you've met my sister, then. Perhaps my full name might help you. I am Hideki Hakamichi. You are probably thinking of my sister, Shizune Hakamichi. Oh, so he's Shizune's brother. Wait a minute. If Hideki is the son of Akira's uncle, and Shizune is his sister, then That means Lilly and Shizune's fathers are brothers-in-law. Therefore, Lilly and Shizune are first cousins? Lilly groans in an uncharacteristically unrestrained manner. The reaction earns an amused smirk from her sister. The enmity between the two just took on a whole nother meaning. I thought it simply a matter of difficulty of communication between the two, but a family feud makes things much more complicated. Where's Steve Harvey at? Hideki, you're Steve Harvey now. Yes! Kill! You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. She gives a half-hearted shrug. She mustn't give as much weight to the two's conflict as I do. Well, that's how it is. What are you two up to on this fine day? We're shopping for Hanako's birthday present. The day will be coming up soon, so this is the last chance we'll have before school starts again for the week. Akira makes a strange face, as if Lilly had just said that the sky wasn't blue and the clouds not white. Isn't her birthday on the 10th next month? Yes? Why? Is something wrong? Akira's face seems to collapse. It's an utterly unbefitting expression for someone so rowdy and headstrong. Folks didn't call you yet? Lilly shakes her head cluelessly. I look at Hideki to see if he knows anything about this. A simple shrug is his only answer. For a moment, Akira ponders what to do before smiling once again. The fact that she can hide her emotions so quickly and effectively is unsettling. Hey, Shorty. Sorry, but could you hang with Hiseo for a while? He nods and waves her off. Akira placing an arm on Lilly's shoulder as he guides her away and out of earshot. And so, I'm alone with Shorty. So, nice weather, isn't it? It seems so. I guess they dumped us. Indeed. What a farcical attempt at small talk. I've got no idea of how to talk to this guy, and his robotic responses aren't helping. Blood and a stone come to mind. Without another word, he begins to rock on his feet in an obvious gesture of boredom with this discussion. He really is like a little kid, despite his serious demeanor. Suspecting the conversation over, I decided to accomplish what I came here to do in the first place. I'm going to go search for a present. Coming? Not much else to do. In a little while, we come to a small shop beside a convenience store. For once, the store windows aren't filled with electronics and computer games, but dolls, stuffed bears, and all manner of wood-crafted oddities. Othello's Antiques. An antique store. Well, if there's anything in this town that suit Hanako, I guess it'd be here. I reach for the old-looking door handle, but pull back at the last minute as I realize my companion's gone adrift. Not coming in? I'll just be in the newsstand for a while. Don't mind me. His voice makes it painfully clear he has zero interest in what's in the store, and that he doesn't feel obligated to follow me. As he wanders off without another word, I push the thick wooden door and enter the store, a bell above me ringing out. The musty smell of old books and wooden shelves is distinctly anachronistic. I look to the counter beside the door. The graying man behind it sits there silently, reading a tattered book. He certainly fits the look of the place. Slowly wandering through the aisles, the person I'm reminded of as I inspect each handcrafted or imported oddity in turn isn't Hanako. Crouching down, I examine the ancient oak desk inside the shop window. At least 30 dolls, all varying widely in size and make. The only similarity between them is the long Victorian dresses they wear. I turn the price tag of one that looks to be about waist height. It's not in my price bracket. At all. I do the same to each of them, getting more and more depressed as they get smaller and smaller in size. That is, until I reach the very smallest one. It's affordable, just, yet of quality make and with long auburn hair and a little blue dress. I decide that it's the kind of present Hanako would appreciate. Pretty looking and far from gaudy. After I carefully pick it up, I decide to keep looking around the store. I'm not sure whether it's because I like the atmosphere or out of simple curiosity. Peeking around the corner before I go to the next aisle, I see that the shelves in this one are stocked with wooden toys, from toy cars to intricate automatons. Tucked behind a line of nutcrackers, I notice a little plain wooden box. It feels surprisingly light as I pick it up with my free hand. Just gonna listen to this for a little bit. We've completed the jukebox now, by the way. The lid only needs the smallest movement to pop open, the little metal drum inside beginning to rotate immediately. For seconds on end, I simply stand there listening to the palm-sized melody. As it plays, I take the tiny price tag in my fingers and bring it up to my face, the minuscule cursive writing taking some effort to read. It's affordable. Sort of. Grimacing slightly, I close the lid and make my way to the counter with doll and music box in hand. When I lay the two on the counter, the man behind it sits up and takes stock of them. He doesn't hide very well his surprise at someone of my age buying them. It's painful, but I hand over the money for the two and leave the store with a small opaque bag in hand. Hideki being there takes me by surprise. Oh, hi. I thought you'd be at the newsstand. Akira gave me a call. She's waiting for us at the fountain with Lilly. At least that solves the issue of trying to find them again. We head off back to the fountain. Hideki's immaculate posture and presentation, despite his appearance, makes for a strange contrast even as we walk. Lilly and Akira stand there waiting for us, their faces hard to read. Hey, you ready to go, shorty? Hideki's mood seems to improve as he rejoins her. See ya, Lilly, Hiseo. Tell Hanako I said happy birthday. We will. Bye. Goodbye, Akira. And with that, the two disappear into the fracas of the afternoon city crowd. Turning to Lilly, I notice she's carrying a small bag. It's now that I realize why her disposition felt different from before. While Lily's typically the type to wear her emotions on her sleeve, her expression and tone are clouded and difficult to read. It's more than a little off-putting, but given the effort she's making to hide her emotions, I doubt she wants to be cornered on why she's feeling this way. Already bought Hanako a present? Yes. Have you? Yup. Shall we head back to the bus stop, then? Okay. There should be a bus back to Yamaku pretty soon. And with that, we begin to walk. It feels strange compared to before. Lily's hand on my forearm feels unusually tense, and the whole atmosphere is extraordinarily awkward. The silence continues for a long while. I really don't like seeing her like this. Hanako's birthday is going to have to be held earlier. Is the 4th going to be alright for you? I have no other possible obligations anyway. I reflexively nod. Only afterwards do I remember that doing so is pointless, and quickly answer so by speech. She tries to collect herself, a task that looks almost pitiable in how plain it is to see how distant her thoughts are. Sorry, Hiseo. You said the bus would be coming soon, right? That's right. But now that she says that, I have an idea. Actually, do you have anything to do later today? I don't believe so. Why do you ask? This is the point where I'd normally take your hand and rush you somewhere, but even without that, you'll have to trust me, okay? I take her hand and gently lead her on. Her distant face replaced by one of mild surprise and curiosity. As the waitress sets the cup of tea and cup of coffee that I'd ordered onto the table, I thank her before she takes her leave. Truth be told, I really lucked out in finding this cafe. I didn't really know where I was going. Rather, I was just looking for any cafe that looked relatively nice. Having managed to recover a little, Lee tentatively sips at her cup as I take a long gulp of the coffee in front of me. As I hoped, her face lights up as she realizes what flavor it is. Ah, this is wonderful. Hiseo, how did you know that this was... I'd asked for French vanilla black tea, hedging my bets that it would be her favorite flavor, or at least one she liked. Well, I don't really know much about tea. It sounded like one she might appreciate. On the basis of her liking vanilla ice cream. A tea connoisseur, I am not. It was a lucky guess. You really like tea, don't you? She puts her teacup down and gives a tiny nod, that familiar small smile thankfully perked on her face once again. Drinking tea is calming, I think. With the amount you drink, are you sure you're not addicted to it? Caffeine addiction's pretty common nowadays. Did I ever say I wasn't? She lets out a giggle as my head drops. We all have our vices, I suppose, and there are worse things to be addicted to. French vanilla black tea, huh? I'll have to remember that. For a while, we both silently drink. It's comforting to have someone like her nearby in such new surroundings, even if it's just the two of us sitting in silence. I begin to wonder if this feeling is the same for her, until she sets down her cup. Hiseo, do you mind if I ask you a slightly odd question? That depends on the question, I guess. I was wondering, what your favorite color is? Everyone has one, after all. I almost replied before realizing why this seemingly mundane question is actually quite strange. My favorite color, but... She gives a pouting look, wanting me to answer anyway. While the answer seems unavoidably wasted on her, there isn't any harm in giving it. I've always had a thing for green. I'd say that's my favorite. Green, is it? What things do you think of when contemplating that color? I suppose grass fields and trees in summer. The army as well, with camouflage. Men always seem to like the military. But that sounds like a nice color. A very nice color. She nods her head a little, as if approving of the choice. Considering how foreign the concept of color is to her mind, labeling it by association seems reasonable enough. If everyone has a favorite color, then what's yours? I did Lily's voice for Hiseo. Whoopsie. White. I'm told that's the color of snow. And of ice cream. You know better than me, then, if you only like that color because of a favorite food. I guess white is nice, too, though. Speaking of colors, it'll be getting dark soon. Let me help you up. Lily offers her hand, which I take in mind to help lever her up from her seat at the table. Its softness compared to mine takes me off guard, as I'm really not used to such casual contact. It doesn't seem to bother her at all, though. Well, it seems obvious why. It feels like just one more ladylike aspect to her. As her hand moves to her pocket, I quickly cut her off. Don't worry, I'll pay for this. Oh, thank you, Hiseo. She gives an earnest smile at the gesture, a reward much greater than that of her words. By the time we step off the bus, it's well and truly dark. We make our way up the hill in silence, both of us behaving a little awkwardly, probably because of the day's events. While I'm still concerned over Lily's withdrawn nature after meeting with her sister, the fact I managed to cheer her up even slightly feels like a personal victory. But it feels like the air between us has changed. Maybe it's only a bit, but it's something I don't think either of us realized before. That was a date, wasn't it? It was. That doesn't elude either of us, the question answers being so self-evident as to be rhetorical. Awkward as it may be, I don't think this feeling is bad. In fact, quite the opposite. I don't know what it is. I certainly can't be sure, but it feels like something a little more than friendship. Understanding? Empathy? Searching for words to adequately describe it is difficult. Nonetheless. Would you like to do this again sometime, Lily? Without shopping for presents? The tentative question is met with the same look from Lily as before. Her pale skin makes the rosy tint of her cheeks just slightly more noticeable, and her face, though still pointed to the street ahead of her, lowers. Just a little. Okay. Yay! The day at a party. Unidentified drinking object. I think this is the same, but I could be wrong. It probably isn't. I don't think they've ever reused routes, or scenes between routes, so... I walk down the hall of the girls' dormitories, my school bag in hand. A doll lies inside, carefully placed on top of a small box. I've been carrying the box in there for a while now, still not sure of what to do with it. This whole situation, come to think of it, is bizarre. Well, I've known of Hanako's upcoming birthday party for a while now. I had no idea of exactly what the celebration would be until I found a single note left in the abandoned tea room earlier today. I hold it up and read it again, double-checking the instructions. The plain black handwriting's fairly legible, despite Lily's blindness, clearly thanks to considerate effort and care. Hiseo, we'll be holding a party at my place. Please come at 6 o'clock to room 225 in the girls' dormitory. Sorry for notifying you this way, but I have class representative duties. Lilly Satou. Not reassured, I continue walking down the hallway until I reach Lily's dormitory room. I hesitate for a second, but eventually give 3 sharp taps on the door. A brief and muffled exchange of words can be heard from the other side. Listening closer, I can just pick out Hanako and Lily's voices. As they finish, Lily calls out, "Might that be Hiseo?" "Yep, I got the note you left for me." "You can come in. The door is unlocked." Glad that I managed to get the right room, I press down on the handle and let myself in. As the door swings open, my greeting to them is stolen from my mouth. Hey, we've seen this CG before. They reuse CGs, they don't reuse scenes. Lily sits at a low table in the center of the room in her pajamas, while on the other side sits Hanako in a nightgown. Being dressed in only my normal school clothes, I feel quite out of place. I steal a quick glance at the lovely sight of the two, my eyes tearing themselves from Lily's long, thin, and pale legs, only with a measure of reluctance. Hi. I think I brought everything that was needed. She smiles and nods. Wonder if she's even aware of the pleasant sight she makes. The thin, dark blue silk of her pajamas really suits her, accentuating both her eyes and her curves. The look of her last night, the tentative and almost shy demeanor, seems all but replaced by her cozy nature. It's nice to see her confidence returned, though I can't help casting my mind back to how she looked back then. I look to Hanako, who nervously sits opposite her in her gown. It isn't a surprise that she'd wear something so conservative, though it definitely looks cute. Hi, Hanako. Happy birthday. Thank you. She's unusually skittish, despite the fact she's warmed up to me considerably over the weeks we've come to know each other. This is a pretty unusual situation, I guess. Feel free to take a seat, Hiseo. I'll just pour you 2 some tea. Sure thing. Lily takes the steaming red teapot from the side of the table and gently pours its contents into our teacups as I take a seat beside them, setting my bag against the nearby wall. 1 second, I gotta clear my throat. Alright. With my senses returned and hormones somewhat calmer, I realize that this is the first time I've ever been in Lily's room. The first thing I notice is the ambient smell, just slightly different from that in mine. Probably faint perfume or nail polish. It could be anything of a girl's, really. Another is the plain nature of the room, visually. Beige walls, a smart yet unadorned cabinet, the lack of posters or wall hangings. It's distinctively utilitarian, something I should have anticipated given her blindness. The only thing that really seems out of the ordinary is several piles of books sitting on the floor, each reaching from roughly knee height to waist height. Some of them have printed titles, others are entirely blank except for dots of braille. The fact that ones with printed titles are uniformly in English is interesting, though not completely unexpected. She did mention her parents impressing the language upon her in Akira, after all. Your room looks nice, Lily. Hear a call of thanks from beside my shoulder. Looking back to Hanako, her gaze is fixed on her lap, and her hands are nervously clutching her gown. It's now that I notice why. With these clothes on, The extent of her scarring is far more visible, reaching down her neck and out to cover her right shoulder. Considering this is a party for her, she doesn't really look like she's enjoying the experience now that I'm here. So, how old are you turning? 18? Her look of surprise, not at all helped by her total lack of skill in hiding her feelings, shows that she was trying to mentally tune me out. This is really quite awkward. Yes. On the plus side, there's only 2 more years till you can drink. So who's older, you or Lily? Lily. She had her birthday in February. What about yours? Earlier this year, so it's already passed. Unstated is that it passed while I was stuck in the hospital. That was a particularly low point of the experience. Conversation with her dries up as quickly as expected. It isn't long before Lily's finished preparing our drinks, setting down the 3 teacups in front of us. I pick mine up, immediately noticing a much stronger aroma and taste than the tea we've been having. It tastes different than the tea we have in school. It's a different variety, rather than the kind we've been having there. You've never tasted orange Dupur before? Not that I can remember. I usually drink coffee after all, like when we were in town. This is nice, though. As we settle down and sip, Hanako seems to become more relaxed, or at least a bit less tense about my presence. We all finish our cups at about the same time, with Hanako failing rather badly at hiding her anticipation for the cake that's sitting to the side, begging to be eaten. Come to think of it, I'm feeling very eager myself. First things first, though. Lily? Yes, now is good. Each of us knowing exactly what the other means, I lean sideways and dig around in my bag for the doll I brought Hanako as Lily gets up and retrieves her gift. Hiding our gifts in our hands, we present them both on the table at the same time. Happy birthday. Hanako silently sits looking at them for seconds on end, out of sheer surprise. My little wooden doll, replete with Victorian-era dress and little hat, lies next to a light brown and fluffy stuffed bear from Lily. She clutches at her gown as she moves to speak, not taking her eyes off the modest presents. Thank you, Lily and Hiseo. Aww, CG again. Her voice begins to crack as Lily reaches forward, wrapping her in a soft embrace. The sight of Hanako holding Lily so tightly is heartwarming, so much so that I couldn't wipe the smile off my face, even if I wanted to. As Lily gently rests her face on Hanako's head, she speaks so quietly and softly that I can barely hear. Happy birthday, Hanako. Happy birthday. Hanako gives a small nod, holding onto Lily for a time before breaking off and wiping an eye. I guess that for Hanako, simply having anyone to be there and love her, would be special. The fact that Lily and I can now share that role for her is something I think I will always be grateful for. They're like her parents. This is what we're getting to right now. I have to be honest with you. It'll become more apparent over this route. We're like Hanako's parents.
One scene in particular, it's really, really like that.
Hanako gently takes the doll and teddy bear, holding them both to her chest as she warmly smiles. For a long time, all 3 of us simply sit in happy silence. The quiet is not broken until Lily's soft voice beckons. Shall we have a cake, then? Her proposal is met with 2 looks of unhidden anticipation. No arguments from me. Okay. Phew, that was good. I contentedly sit back, both Lily and Hanako looking just as satisfied with the food as I. It took some effort, but we managed to finish off the cake in one go. I don't think I could fit any more in. I think next time I'll buy a smaller cake. Hanako and I give a chuckle, but I can't help but noticing that, come this time next year, we'll have graduated from Yamaku. That fact is somewhat depressing, since I finally feel as if my life is starting to get back into some kind of order. Idly looking around Lily's neat and orderly room, her books catch my eye once again. This may be a little impetuous, but my curiosity gets the better of me. Besides, I don't think she'll mind, in any case. Hey, Lily, do you mind if I take a look at one of your books? You're quite welcome to, Hiseo. That said, if you can overcome 2 language barriers, I will be quite impressed. 2? Braille and... Oh, right. English. She gives a nod. I knew you were studying English, but I'm still amazed that you're this proficient at it. One could say it's a perfect way to avoid people borrowing my collection. She says it in jest, but I am a little disappointed. Having all these books around me with no way of reading them feels like one big tease. Hanako giggles quietly as I reach over the closest pile, plucking the topmost book with only a cursory glance. Death on the Nile, in large letters on the cover, is the only printed text to be seen. I sit down for a while with the book open in my lap as Lilly and Hanako talk. Try as I might to fill out the dots of braille printed on each page, they seem to blend into one another and become indistinct. I'd thought this to be a lot easier than it actually is. With some practice, though, I could see someone with a better sense of touch than mine managing to read at a pretty fast speed. Noticing a silence that has probably begun earlier, I look up from the dotted pages by the praise, though I can feel my cheeks heating up a little. Thanks, but I don't know how else I could act. To be honest, I wasn't altogether sure of how you saw us, since you were a new transfer student from another school. If you'd pitied us, I would have been quite offended. A certain edge to Lily's voice, one that I'd quite possibly place as pride. Glancing over to Hanako, she seems even more subdued than usual, looking towards Lilly rather than me. Wouldn't worry about that. Considering the position I found myself in, I'm perhaps the last person that should be dispensing pity on others. My parents' first interactions with me after my heart attack. I wouldn't want anyone to see that kind of face. I catch myself from going any further, but not soon enough. Both of the girls seem to be put off, Lilly especially. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone that far. An awkward silence reigns for a few beats, thankfully ended as Lily's head perks up in a gesture I've come to easily recognize. I hit the thing. Hear something? The door. Everyone looks towards it, trusting in Lily's senses. True enough, the door handle shudders and turns, a flash of yellow and black slipping through. Akira Satou is in the house. Happy birthday, Hanako.
Thank you.
Akira takes a seat at the table as she plops her tall bag beside her. Okay. She has her trademark boisterous air about her, making no small deal of her entrance. Hanako clutches her gown to steady herself, but doesn't appear too shaken after she settles down. I guess she must have met Akira before, not a huge surprise given how close Akira and Lilly are. Akira doesn't seem to be the least bit put off by Hanako's scarring, despite its prominence, but she also doesn't pull any punch in how she acts, despite Hanako's shy nature. I thought you said you have to work, Akira. Did you manage to get off for a while? Kinda. I feel bad about ditching the guys who were doing overtime, so I gotta get back soon. But I felt bad about not coming to your cute little Hanako's birthday party, too. So for now, I'm here. She grins widely as Hanako, who flowers into a full blush as she pins her eyes downwards towards her lap.
What is happening with my reading, bro?
Her mouth seems to widen and retract over and over, as if she's trying to suppress a smile out of embarrassment. It's a little strange how her reactions seem to be more immediate and forceful than when she's embarrassed by the way she looks. All she manages to give in return is a tiny nod, failing to hide her appreciation to any great extent. Not that many people give her positive attention, I suppose. It makes me respect how well Akira can handle her, making her so happy compared to what little I could do. Now then, before I go... She reaches into her bag beside her and grandly displays its contents. Out come 2 large glass bottles, both with long French names on the labels. Hana's expression is an odd mix of surprise and curiosity. I suspect mine's no different. Lilly, not seeing the proceedings, is oblivious to what's going on. Akira, this isn't... What is it? Wine. 1 red, 1 white. Akira, that's... Relax. It's not like Shizune's here to scold you. Lilly has a point, that's not exactly allowed on campus. Or anywhere, really. We're still short of the legal drinking age, remember? Rich words for someone practically drooling as he examines a bottle. He got me there. I am genuinely interested in trying some, even just a little. While Hanako may not be handling one herself, her look does tell me that she's far from opposed to the notion as well. Lily rubs her forehead, giving up the fight that she knows Akira would win due to simply not caring enough about those funny rules and regulations. Just don't breathe a word of this to anyone in the school, please. I beg of you. Not stupid, don't worry. That said, I gotta get back to work pretty soon. So soon? But you only just arrived. Sorry, Lily. Good to see you two again, though. And you, Hiseo. See you later, then. Goodbye, Akira. She levers herself up with a grunt and waltzes out of the room, leaving us alone with the 2 items on the table. Interesting. Lily gives a nervous giggle at her sister's antics as Hanako takes a wine bottle. So, what do you think, Lily? She rests her elbow on the table and pinches the bridge of her nose, thinking things through. She really doesn't seem to be able to keep up with her sister. Well, it's already here. We might as well have some. No sooner does she say it than I take a quick glance around the room for glasses. A small groan above me reminds me that Lily retired to rest on her bed for a bit a few minutes ago. Almost completely drained of energy, I managed to stand up and drag myself to the side of the bed, sitting down and leaning my back against it. Good God. Lily's groan sounds lifeless. Too much to drink? My head hurts. Yeah, too much to drink. I rest my head back and idly stare at the ceiling. What an unmitigated disaster. Like proper idiots, we all drank the night away, with one glass after another. Hanako simply fell to the side asleep. It's a miracle I don't feel as ill as Lily. Hey, Hiseo. I'm sorry about today. I didn't think this would happen. It's fine, Lily. To tell the truth, I had a lot of fun today. Really? I think Hanako did too. She certainly did. There's a short silence before another groan resounds from the supine Lily. You okay? As you said, I just drank too much. What's the time? The time? It's... I quickly look at my wristwatch, its numerals barely legible in the gloom. About midnight. Curfew's in effect, then. Yeah, guessed as much. We'll all have to sleep here for tonight. As soon as I say it, I hear the sheets moving as Lily starts to sit up. Hanako. Based Yukari drills. Red, welcome to the stream. Yeah, we went on a little tangent about Katawa Crash, and I found the Yukari Misha. I thought it was too funny to not put on screen. Hanako. No, go back to sleep. Don't try to get up. Should I remember that game? Yeah, I didn't know about it until now. Maybe I'll play a little bit of that in the last stream. Hiseo, I have to. You're in worse shape than me by any stretch. Get some rest. But what about... Grab some spare blankets and put them over her. Don't worry. As I give a deep yawn and stand to retrieve them, I hear her lie back down with a soft thud. Thank you, Hiseo. No problem. It's the least I can do. You look outright wasted. I'm not wasted. I'm just a little bit tired. She starts pouting, a slight slur beginning to distort her words as the alcohol takes hold of her again. I grab a couple of blankets rolled up at the end of her bed. Quietly walking over to Hanako, I carefully lay the blankets over her peacefully sleeping figure, making sure not to wake her up. The thick smell of alcohol coming off her breath makes me doubt she'd wake up no matter what I did, though. I stand and take one last measure of the room. 2 girls, both very drunk, and one guy sleeping overnight with them in the female student's dorm. What a scandal that'd be if it broke out. As I move to sit back down at the side of the bed, I steal one last glance at Lily. Her sprawling, disheveled figure lies resting peacefully, slightly turned to the side. I crouch down to get a better look. Aww, cute CG. Her white skin blends in with the white pillow of the bed, a look of slumber-born peacefulness on her face. Usually she seems so confident and forward, always there and caring for Hanako. Now, though, she seems painfully delicate. I think back to Hanako's presence. I thought it'd be a nice occasion for her, but I'd hardly expected it to be so moving. One birthday after another, year after year. Just she and Lily, all alone. Guess it wasn't just the present she liked. It was the presents and the presents. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I'll be here all stream, folks. Resigning myself to an uncomfortable sleep, I sit down at the side of the bed once again and rest my tired arms beside me. Hey, Hiseo. Lily's voice is so quiet I can barely hear it. She must be on the verge of sleep. Yeah? Thank you. Drum drill. Thank you. For what? For being here. That's okay. As I hear a deep breath, it's obvious Lily's gone to sleep. After closing my eyes, it doesn't take long for slumber to take me as well. Wait, is this?
I think they didn't do a passing, but I need to use the bathroom. Yeah.
I need to use the bathroom, so I'll take bathroom, get a little bit more water. I'm back. second time I've said that today.
Alright. Get some water and stuff like that.
My roommate's making flan, and he said I could have some when it's done, so I'm excited about that. Then he also told me he used up all his energy making desserts, and so he's he's having rice with just some sauce on it for his dinner, which is, I respect it. Fantasy flan. We love can't believe I'm gonna eat Purin's fans. Oh no. Alright. Iso? Iso, are you? The soft, barely audible voice lingering in my ear slowly wakes me. I wish I could be awoken like this more often. With a mumble, I slowly open my... Whoa! Taken by surprise at the face hovering curiously mere millimeters from mine, I make our heads collide with a harsh thud. The impact of our foreheads causes both of us to fall backwards and yelp in pain, Lilly sounding more like a squeak toy than a person. Ow, ow, ow. I slowly rub my forehead with one hand, supporting myself with the other. Lilly lies a few feet ahead of doing just the same, her face obviously pained. Sorry, your face was kind of close and I acted on reflex. You okay? My head. Seems she's not actually okay. Come to think of it, I doubt that the impact alone is what's causing her head so much pain. Hangover? You drank a fair bit last night. She silently nods in confirmation as I lever myself up. I offer a hand to her and help her back onto her feet. Glancing behind her, I find that Hanako's still fast asleep. It's not fair. I only drank as much as you did. It's very different from what I remember. And anyways, girls have a lower tolerance than men. That doesn't help. Fine, I'll get you a glass of water. Just be careful not to trip over Hanako. I rub the sleep out of my eyes, or at least some of it, as I walk to the counter. Tending to someone with a hangover isn't the way I like to spend a morning. It only takes a few seconds for the glass to fill, the clear water reflecting the sliver of light that makes it through the thin curtains. Looks like Lily's taken a seat on the side of the bed. I walk over to her while taking care to step over the peacefully sleeping Hanako and place the glass into her outstretched hand. Thank you. No problem. Take a seat next to her, the soft bed having a surprising amount of give. She drinks slowly and methodically. A long silence passes with only Hanako's soft breathing to be heard. With some measure of guilt, I look at Lily's face and attempt to read her expression. Her brow is furrowed, and she looks to be lost in thought. For a moment I hesitate, but eventually place a hand on her shoulder in an attempt to reassure her. I didn't expect her to flinch rather noticeably at that, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to... Lily quickly shakes her head in a manner somewhat more violent than usual for her. She takes a long breath to steady herself before letting her head sink. I must look terrible right now. I moved to protest, but quickly realized that it would be futile to do so. That said, I want her to open up more. If you want to talk about anything, I'm here. She gives a self-depreciating snort, as if to mock her own emotions. There's just a lot happening right now. I'm sorry for being so strange recently, especially back when we were in town. Even now I'm a bit confused about everything. Believe me, I know how that feels. She smiles wistfully, resting a cheek on the backs of her fingers. We're a couple of broken young fools, aren't we? Come on, don't say that. In graduation, we'll be back out into the real world. The real world? Sometimes I surprise myself with the way I think about things. I guess the strange, divorced feeling of Yamaku in the surrounding town compared to the outside world still hasn't become natural. Maybe it never will. It's strange in hindsight. Being isolated from society like this doesn't feel as bad as it probably should. A wry grin on her face, Lily seems to share the same sense of amusement at the idea. Eventually, though, her smile drops. I'll be going back to Scotland for a week or two, soon. Is that why we had to reschedule Hanako's birthday party? She gives an affirmative nod. You'll be able to see your family again, at least. You're not looking forward to it? I haven't met my family in 6 years. I didn't even know how to act around them anymore. Wait, what? My mouth hangs open as I try to process what she said. If she's 18, that means she'd have been only 12 when they left. I may have seen very little of my parents, what with them both working long hours, but that's... I feel utterly useless as I struggle to find some way to respond. That's... But why? Why did they leave? Or why are they inviting Akira and me back? Both, I suppose. My father's business has its headquarters in Scotland. An executive position became available to him there. In the end, he had to move permanently. My mother followed him, but Akira and I stayed in Japan for the sake of both Akira's job within the Japanese branch of my father's company and my education. As for the latter, one of my aunts is gravely sick. I'm sorry. Don't be. It feels strange, really. We're being summoned there for her, yet we've barely met before. I can't even remember the sound of her voice. Equally strange is the total lack of antipathy she feels towards her family for doing such a thing. I can't help feeling slightly humbled. That said, her wistful exterior is just hiding her emotions. Seeing her like this is depressing. Knowing what to do, I lift myself off the bed. Lilly notices the bed's movement, her head perking up and her hand reaching sideways to feel where I was. Hiseo? I walk over to my bag, still leaning against the wall. Unbuckling the front flap and retrieving the opaque bag from within, I take the small, plain box in my hands. Hold your hands out, Lilly. She looks surprised for a moment, but eventually acquiesces. I'm amused by her look of curiosity when I place the music box into her open palms, her typically delicate way of handling it making it seem as if it were fragile enough to break if breathed on. She wordlessly brings it in front of her face, her slender fingers feeling out its contours and patterning. Eventually, her fingers find the recessed line between the lid and the body of the box, and her thumb effortlessly pops open the lid. I take a seat on the bed next to her, watching her face silently and intently. She sits completely motionless as she listens to the diminutive tinny melody, her mouth just slightly open. It takes a long while before she closes the lid with a small snap, bringing the curtain down on the miniature performance playing in her hands. The smile on her face, gentle and wistful, shows that I made the right decision. Think of it as a going-away present for your trip to Scotland. I will. A restless shuffling can be heard from the floor in front of us, the sound having woken Hanako. She climbs out of the blankets I put over her, looking befuddled and wiping the sleep from her eyes. I see you're finally up. What? Hanako looks around the room with her eyes only half open, her mind far from being as awake as her body. Her dazed state makes me and Lilly chuckle. As Lilly gets off the bed and tends to Hanako, I take one last look around the room. I guess I'd better get going then. There'll be questions if I am seen leaving the girls' dormitories in the morning. Goodbye, Hiseo. Oh. Goodbye. I stand and walk to the door, picking up my somewhat lighter bag along the way. After I leave the room and enter the hallway, though, I hear Lilly's footsteps behind me. What's wrong? Without a word, she strides up to me. I freeze as I feel her hand slide onto my cheek with seemingly every nerve taking in the feeling of her fingers and palm upon it. Immediately after, her face slowly moves next to mine, a light, momentary touch of her lips brushing against my other cheek. For a moment, everything seems to stand still. I absent-mindedly bring my fingers to my cheek, as if to try and recapture that fleeting feeling. Lilly. That's my thank you, Hiseo. Thank you? For your present. Have a nice day in school. And with that, she disappears behind her door and gently closes it, the muffled voices of her and Hanako audible through it much as they were yesterday night. I think I'd be hard-pressed not to have a nice day after that. I walk away with a certain spring to my step. I think there were some people around that glanced at me emerging from the girls' dormitory building, but I find it difficult to care.
Oh, I should have just waited. We have a decision that influences the ending.
Hee-chan, go away. Hee-chan, leave me alone. Come on, Hee-chan. Let me sleep. After 2 nights of not being able to sleep at all, the last thing I want is to be woken when I finally manage to. It may be the last period of class with a textbook as my pillow, but I'll take whatever sleep I can get by this point. See, Hee-chan, even Shi-chan wants you to get up. I don't care what Shizune wants. Leave me alone. Geez, Hee-chan, I'll just have to wait. Wait, Misha's going to... You? This is bad. I'm up. You don't have to... You can feel my face flowering into a scarlet red blush. Leave her, I'll do unholy things to your drills. She already did the unholiest thing to her drills.
She cut them off, remember?
I don't think anyone could top that. The students still in class are sitting bolt upright and staring at the shouting fool who was sleeping just moments before. Damn it. I let my head smack back down on the table with a noticeable thud. Axe grilled. Oh no! Oh no, yabe. Yabe. Misha's trademark uncontrolled laughter reverberates through the classroom. As I turn my mournful eyes to the bespectacled Shizune beside her, she carefully adjusts her glasses, desperately trying to maintain a look of serious disapproval. Narrowing my eyes, I can see the badly hidden grin spreading across her face. Bad too, Shizune. Shizune looks away quickly. She crosses her arms tightly, barely on the edge of her control. Misha's laughter doubles in volume as she glances at Shizune. All I can do is drag my hand down my face in resignation. You too. Who was the one who slept in class, Hee-chan? Yeah, it was me. Poor Shi-chan was having a fit trying to wake you up, weren't you? I move my eyes back to the standoffish Shizune, who, with a single huff of confirmation, returns to looking away with her arms crossed. Why was Shizune trying to wake me up? Shi-chan wanted to give you the handouts the substitute teacher gave out while Hee-chan was sleeping. Handouts?
Everything in this game is a jump scare.
I suddenly find 2 sheets of paper thrust down in front of my face. Following the hand holding them, I see the still pouting figure looking down at me with a distinct scowl. I guess I really am in the wrong here. Sorry about that. No dice. Her irritated face still holds. I clasp my hands together and flick my head downwards in apology. Very, very sorry. Sumimasen. She huffs and simply drops the papers on the desk. Damn. I look up over my hand to see Shizune and Misha signing frantically to each other, a look of frustration on Shizune's face. It looks to be less of a dialogue and more of a tirade, punctuated with sidelong glances at me. To say it's unsettling is an understatement. Two suddenly stop signing and look at me in unison, both having exactly the same look of disapproval. In one fluid motion, Misha's hand suddenly extends high above me and comes rocketing down. Before I can even hope to react, my head is sent bouncing up and down like a jack-in-the-box. I quickly bring my hands to my head, more out of reflex than actual pain. Ow! What was that for? I open my eyes to see the two grinning at each other while exchanging an enthusiastic thumbs up. Shi-chan says she forgives you now, Hee-chan. Could you forgive me with a little less force next time? I look at the two with a blank face. Misha and Shizune 1, Hiseo 0. Oh, Shi-chan also said that you should check your student mail more often. She produces a bright yellow envelope and hands it over with an exuberant grin. Strange. who could have written me a letter. Now is not the time and most definitely not the place to find out, though. Giving up on the nap so cruelly stolen from me, I rub my forehead and slowly get up, putting the sheets and envelope in my bag before swinging it over my shoulder. I take a step back and move to depart with a small bow, while Misha clutches her sides laughing, and Shizune nods back in a curt farewell. I join the flow of students exiting the open door and turn the corner into the hallway, only to end up face to face with Hanako. Whoa, hey Hanako. Good afternoon, Hiseo. Silence falls between us as busily chatting students pass us by. She's fidgeting constantly, her eyes drawn to her rather unremarkable footwear. I take the bridge of my nose in my fingers while I blink my eyes heavily in an attempt to make things seem clearer. I'm barely staying awake as it is. Hanako, you want to say something. What is it? I wanted to give you this. Huh? She holds out a small rectangular piece of paper. I blink again to make out the text, though through barely open eyes, slowly starting to make out what's written. Eggs times 2, bread loaf times 1, whole grain cereal times 1, thyme times 1. Shopping list? I look upwards, raising an eyebrow. I usually go shopping with Lilly, but I can't come, so... You want me to run errands for you? It's okay if you don't want to. I just thought that maybe, based whole grains consumer, healthy Hanako. Perfect.
Why is my leg so itchy?
It wouldn't be so bad to try and get to it if I wasn't wearing a blanket on my legs, because I'm fucking freezing in this room. She's panicking. I sigh. Yet another battle lost, though this time by a weakly fought surrender. I smile tiredly and rest a hand on her head to calm her down. It's fine. I was gonna go anyway. Just the stuff on this list? She nods, then bows deeply, twice, as if to make her gratitude perfectly clear. We were going to meet outside the school gates at 6. Thank you. I was gonna get it, but I need to study for the test tomorrow. Test? Ah, that's right. Science. How are you doing with it? She brightens ever so slightly. I've been spending more time on it than before. I think I can do okay. Good work then. She too starts smiling, and much more earnestly than I at that. I have full confidence that I can do fine in it without any extra studying. The fact that she's putting in the effort instead of just reading in the library is heartening. I'll grab your stuff and take it to your dorm in the evening. See ya. With a small wave, we part ways. I'll go do my homework before meeting Lilly. I should be able to take care of it in time. Wrangling with a particularly complicated math problem has caused me to be a little bit late for my meeting with Lilly. Only a couple minutes, but enough to make me step smartly out into the courtyard to the school gate. I make a right turn and start my way towards the small town below, leaving a few students turning the other way to the bus station. I slip my right hand into my pocket as I walk in the orange sunlight of dusk. Thankfully, the sweltering summer heat started to die down, making way for a pleasant, cool breeze. When I stretch my hands high above my head, a familiar figure takes form, cane in her right hand. Ah, Lilly. She stops and turns around, swiveling her head slightly to try and work out exactly where the voice came from. Hey, it's me. Quickly catch up to her, coming in beside her and matching her slow pace as we resume walking. Good afternoon, Hiseo. Hi there. I glance up at the sky. A distinct tinge of orange discolors the clouds, washing the footpath in its light. Long shadows from the trees fall across the wide road down the hill. So, Hiseo, what brings you here? Just going to town to grab some groceries. Hanako sent me. Hanako sent you? Yeah, said she needed to study for a test tomorrow. I was going to come down anyway, so I'll just buy her stuff as well. Unspoken is that Lilly really could use some help to get food, but it's an obvious fact that neither of us needs to state. It's good to hear that she's studying for it. I thought the same thing when she asked me to come with you. We continue walking down the street, the familiar sound of her cane echoing through the air as we go. Except for the occasional passing car and the leaves whispering in the branches, there's a blissful silence. Thank God I can finally relax for the first time today. I just drink. I glance over at Lilly. That porcelain face of hers never seems to lack that air of relaxed confidence. I guess the same could be said of her personality, too. As she silently walks, her face remaining pointed to the street ahead of her, I look ahead and savor the cool air blowing over my face. This is probably the calmest moment I've had since the about-face my life took so recently. To have it while walking to get some groceries. What a weird life. I feel the crumpled up note rubbing against my hand in my pocket, and pull it out to check its contents. Let's see here. Eggs, bread, cereal, thyme, lettuce, shaved ham. That sounds like quite a bit to carry back along with your own. Yeah, just how much does this girl eat anyway? My mind suddenly clicks that, yes, there actually is a person beside me. Wait, I mean... She laughs wholeheartedly. My, Hiseo. Her giggles punctuate her words, though she's making little effort to suppress them. Quite direct today, aren't we? Yeah, you got me there. Still, it is quite a bit. Usually I go shopping with Hanako, so I know what she buys. It's the same thing every week. Huh? Is she a good cook? She gives a nervous giggle. It's usually me who ends up cooking. I used to do so for Akira, so it's no problem doing it for Hanako as well. You can cook, but... A short hum with an amused lilt emanates from beside me. I wonder if the fact that she seems amused by my comments so often is actually genuine, or rather just from a want to make me more comfortable in addressing her blindness. There are ways around it. Some meals are more difficult to cook than others because of being unable to see what I'm doing, but it usually only takes a little more time. Fingers can double as very useful measurement tools, for example. It makes sense, but she'd have to be pretty careful not to hurt herself. I wonder how many times that's happened, given that it sounds like she's cooked alone for possibly years while Akira worked and her parents were gone. With that, the conversation trails off. Compared to the awkward silences of Hanako, Lily seems generally content to say what she thinks and stay quiet when there's nothing to say. The slick road under my feet is bathed in an orange glow, the occasional fallen leaf crunching underfoot as we walk. I let out a deep yawn, my lack of sleep coming back to haunt me. Oh, speaking of yawning, good lord. Did you not get much sleep last night? Couldn't sleep at all for the last 2 nights. Probably insomnia. Lily's face suddenly becomes worried. It feels like a personal failure every time she gets worried about my well-being, even if it's genuinely nice to know someone cares. You have insomnia? Aren't you going to see the nurse about it? Nah, no real need. It's happened before a few times. My meds screw with my sleeping occasionally. Ah, I'm sorry. Come on, it's not your fault. At least I shouldn't have any trouble getting to sleep tonight. You do worry me sometimes. I worry you. I reach around and scratch the back of my neck. I kind of want to address this. Hey, Lily? I don't mean to sound weird, but please try to forget about my heart condition. She looks kind of lost. I hardly blame her. I guess what I'm trying to get at is just don't treat me differently because of it. She bows her head slightly, her white cheeks reddening almost imperceptibly. It's only natural to worry about those around you. Well, it's still nice to know there's someone like that out there. It may be somewhat embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. Lily takes a breath to regain her composure and manages a gentle smile, though her cheeks remain flushed. The final downhill walk to the store passes in silence. Welcome! Suppose I'll get my stuff first and Hanako's on the second round. I grab 2 well-worn red baskets from the stack beside the entrance and pass one to Lily. Just as she did before, she lays it on the ground and slides her retracted cane between the basket's handles before picking it back up with her right hand. When she takes hold of my arm in her own, I'm surprised at just how fast this kind of casual contact became so natural. Mostly due to necessity, no doubt. Shall we? Sure. We navigate around the store. The odd person occasionally passing us pays no heed at all. It's nice, compared to the stares and whispers around the city. As we reach each aisle, I quickly check with Lilly what she needs and grab it along with what I want, putting our items into their respective baskets. It's an odd feeling to be dependent on so much for something so basic as shopping. Hanako would be practically a necessity for her to pick out what she wants, after all. Right, I'm pretty much done with both my stuff and Hanako's. You needing anything else, Lilly? No, this should be everything. Off we go then. Oddly, there's a queue a mile long. Considering the store is only large enough to warrant one counter, seems like it'll take a while. Damn. Lilly gives an inquisitive look, unable to see the reason for my complaint. The queue's really long. Looks like we'll have to wait. How strange. Sharing the same mood of resignation, we reluctantly take our place at the end of the line. One person finishes, the line moves up. Another person finishes, the line moves up. By the time we finally reach the head of the line, I'm so close to dozing off that Lilly has to gently pat me on the back for me to move up. Hiseo. Hiseo. Sorry. She gives a short sigh of consternation as I move up, getting the groceries for Hanako and me put into separate bags. Thank you, please come again. By the time we emerge from the store, Lilly's holding a single bag while I struggle to carry 4, both hands well and truly full. It's a lot of work, but thankfully the items in them are light. Even without looking skyward, it's obvious that a surprising amount of time has passed, the road outside being dark and lit by street lamps. Once Lilly retrieves her cane, we set out back to the dormitories the way we came, leaving the welcoming warm glow of the store. Despite the road being empty of cars, the full bags abundantly make up for the lack of noise, constantly clunking and squeaking together. My, Hiseo. It's good to find that you're eating well. I'm a growing guy after all. I need to eat all I can. It must be nice, being a man. What? Seemingly not noticing or ignoring my surprise at the completely out of left field comment, she continues on without missing a beat. Weight doesn't really bother you when eating, most of the time. I get what you mean. Women tend to worry about stuff like that more than we do, I guess. Exactly. It makes me somewhat envious, to be honest. It's not like we can outright ignore it. With an affirmative nod, we continue our walk. That's right. What is it? Hanako mentioned your birthday was early this year. Do anything special for it? She gives a long pause, lost in thought for a few seconds as she recalls the event. Not really. It was just Hanako and me having a little party during the night after school. Birthday's supposed to be a big event, you know. Sounds like a pretty lonely way to spend a birthday, just her and Hanako staying overnight. Birthdays always felt like a family occasion for me. They were a time when, in spite of their full-time jobs, both my parents would make an effort to be there for the day, or at least for a party beforehand. It reminds me of how Lilly mentioned she hadn't seen her family in such a long time, and even ended up moving away from Akira's house afterwards. But I guess it's the same in situations as mundane as these. Considering her inability to read the packaging, just getting groceries would be a pain without somebody else around. In the end, she just has Hanako and me, and Akira when she's off work. Be that as it may, she still seems to have many more distant friends among the students, not to mention people like Yuko. It seems to be her own choice that there's such a separation between those who are close to her and those who she only socializes with. It humbles me a little to see how much Lilly seems to have her life set up and going just as she wants it. Yet Hanako is there for her to celebrate her birthday, and I'm here helping her with shopping. It's a weird kind of symbiosis, I suppose. Are you alright, Hiseo? Sorry? You just seem to go very quiet, that's all. Sorry, I was just thinking. Oh? Now I've piqued her curiosity. It feels kind of overly personal to talk about. The decision! Not a turbo important decision, but... Obviously, you tell the truth. Don't lie on things. Communication is important. Tell the truth. It was just kind of... I was thinking about how you seem to have everything so sorted out, even with Hanako relying on you. I can admit that even I kind of relied on you when I first transferred in. I think it's a good quality to have. I turned to Lily, surveying her reaction. She's forcing herself to look forward and furrowing her brow quite a bit. Her face looks a bit awkward, as if she was trying to find just the right words. Lily? I would thank you, but assuming that I don't rely on the presence of others is too much. You'd be wrong to think that Hanako simply depends on me with nothing in return. She seems to have a bit of trouble saying it, even though it's largely what I'd thought already. If she tried so hard to maintain her independence, as anyone would have had to in her position, cited or not, maybe she finds it hard to talk about her own needs. It's only now that I realize an omission in what she says, though. I decide to follow it up, largely in jest, to avoid things getting too personal. No? And what about me? She suddenly runs ahead of me and turns, blocking me off. With a smile, she holds her hands behind her as she leans forward. You're different. And with that, she turns back and continues to walk ahead of me, a newfound spring in her step. All I can do is raise an eyebrow and give a dazed grin. I don't think I've ever seen this playful and teasing side of her before. So, I'm different. It's hard to work out the exact context, but knowing her, this ambiguity was intended. Our relationship has begun changing, at the very least simply because I've begun to stand on my own feet more, started getting more curious about the situation of those around me. As to why, probably a mix of personal curiosity and a want to try and work out how to deal with my situation. I'm less sure of Lily, though. That's why her own statement, so similar to my own feelings towards her, throws me off so much. Watching her make her way up the street, cane tapping from left to right, I decide to settle the matter later and just smile. This is a nice side of her, and I don't want to forget it. Eventually we get to the girls' dormitories, both my arms aching from the weight of 2 sets of groceries. We're finally here. Ooh. I bend down to wipe my forehead with the back of my hand. Lee stops in front of her door and sets down her bag, fishing around in her pocket for the key. Thank you, Hiseo. I really appreciate your help. This is nothing. It might be nothing to you, but it's definitely something for me. And with that, she steps through her door, closing it behind her. I blink. Those were nothing but honest thanks, but I can't help feeling something different about them. Anyway, I have something else to do before I can mull on that at my leisure. Turn back to the door to Hanako's room and proceed to knock twice in quick succession, the bag still in my hand rustling together. After a couple of seconds, the door slowly opens. If one weren't looking closely, they could be forgiven for thinking it hadn't moved at all. I twist my head to the side to try and peer through this tiny sliver of a gap between the door and the door frame. Hey, Hanako, I've got your stuff. Ah! With that, she opens the door completely, making her plain room visible over her shoulder. Sparsely decorated, it's probably even more unremarkable than my room. Hold out my right arm, both bags almost pulling it straight back down with their weight. Thank you, Hiseo. I'm sorry to make you carry them all this way. It's fine, don't worry. Just don't make me do it every day, okay? I pass the bags to her as I give a lighthearted chuckle. After the initial transfer of weight, she managed to take them easily. I'll be off then. Night, Hanako. Good night, see you in class tomorrow. With a deep bow, her groceries still held in both hands, she steps back and shuts the door. Making my way back to my own dorm, I put one bag in my other hand to balance them out. Even as I do so, I can't get Lily's light-hearted smile out of my mind. When I'd first met her, it would have been nearly impossible to imagine her like that. Indeed, It feels like we've become closer in the past few weeks since I first got to know both her and Hanako. The time that I spent with her each day, the small exchanges of happiness we share, those small moments of joy as I get closer to her. I'm far from certain, but I don't think these are just the normal feelings of friendship. Once I return to my room, I store away my groceries and begin getting ready for the night. I swap the school books out in my bag for those I'll need tomorrow, pulling out the yellow envelope Misha gave me earlier in the process. I got so sidetracked by one thing after another that I couldn't deal with it earlier. Who could have written me, I wonder? The name neatly adorning the back of the envelope freezes me in my tracks. It's been so long since I've seen her writing. There's little chance I could have identified it as hers otherwise. Iwanako. Why should she have written me? I can't think of any good reason for her to do this. I almost don't open the letter, but there'd be little point to that. If I just left it alone, its mere existence would not me until I did something about it. I look down at the piece of paper on my desk, its bright and summery decoration beaming happily at me. The lettering is in pink, jarring badly with the yellow sunflower border on the card. The handwriting is neat, the characters having been written thoughtfully and with an unusual amount of care. I'd barely given the letter a second thought when it was given to me, but now I can't get its contents out of my mind. Well, I'd like to say that I don't know why she used such an old-fashioned method of communication, considering a phone call or an email would be both much faster and easier. The answer feels obvious enough given the content. A letter leaves a comfortable distance between the sender and the recipient. Unlike a phone, it doesn't require that you engage in conversation, and unlike email, there is less expectation of an immediate reply. Statements such as, "The third year seem to be very anxious about the final exams," and "It's so weird to think we're already seniors, isn't it?" are just small talk. Small talk that could have been achieved by simply replying to any of the messages I'd sent her while in the hospital. The ending, though, is the true reason she sent this. The last couple of lines, added almost as an afterthought. "I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't." It's a statement that should hurt. I've always heard breakups are nasty stuff, but it feels like this is simply a reaffirmation of what we both already knew instead. It's the preceding text, no more than small talk, that makes me feel the most uneasy. I can't figure out why, no matter how long I sit here and look down at this bright and summery piece of paper. If you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. It's plainly obvious that this is not the type of letter to be replied to. In the end, this letter is no more than a simple abdication of responsibility. A final statement to assure herself that our relationship is over. As such, I find I have little problem in scrunching the letter and envelope into a ball and tossing it into the waste bin, ridding myself of its existence. I go to bed with mixed feelings, cheated out of a pleasant evening by this intruder from the past. Ironically, it takes a while before I can manage to sleep. Uh-oh. I sweat profusely, awaiting the dreaded moment. Each tick of the clock tenses my muscles that much more, every minute making more hairs stand on end. It's coming for me. I can feel it. Death in the form of a single sheet of paper. I take the small pile of papers from the students in front of me and pass it backwards after plucking off the top piece. Looking at the top right of the page, I find my fears realized within that small red circle. 43. I hang my head and sigh in resignation. Cursing under my breath, I can feel the aura of a similar sentiment rising from the entire class. It's strange, but that fact lifts my mood by a minuscule amount. Misery loves company, I suppose. As the teacher opens her mouth, the room braces for the inevitable onslaught, only to be saved at the last minute. We quickly move to collect our bags and leave for lunch, post-haste, but the teacher delivers a parting broadside. We'll be discussing the test scores next lesson. Needless to say, there will be quite some discussion to be had. A collective groan resounds from the class, now reduced to shuffling out dejectedly. I pushed the sheet into my bag as I walked along the hallway, crumpling it in the process. It's enough that such a troublesome letter ended up on my desk yesterday, and now this. I hate English. He, say, oh. A stern female voice gruffly calls out from behind me. I freeze on the spot, my face becoming like stone. It's as if I can feel my brain disconnecting from my body. My eyes slowly shift right, trying to catch a glimpse of the disembodied voice. Nothing? My face begins to slip as the time passes. Decide to risk turning my head, ever so slowly. I twist it to the... Ah! I jump into the air and drop my bag, yelling out in surprise. As I recover and regain my composure, I turn to see... I should have known. Emmy. Gotcha, Hiseo. Oh, I gotta get to the Emmy voice. She stands there with a mischievous grin on her face, hands forward and fingers pointed inwards. She was the one who jabbed my ribs with her fingers. I looked down at her with a grimace, rubbing my hair in frustration. It's no way to greet someone, you know. You have no sense of humor. I left my sense of humor in my English class. Complain to the teacher if you want it given back to me. She pulls her best puppy dog eyes on me as she pouts. Lily's managed to build up my resistance to the tactic, but Emmy's short stature adds enough to the effect to make me relent. So, how are things? I haven't seen you around for a while. Same old, same old. I run so fast, nobody wants to join me on my morning runs. It's a real pain. Her modesty never fails to amuse me. Although... Uh-oh. You know what I'm thinking, don't you, Hiseo? Wearing my emotions on my sleeve is one of my worst habits. She's seen right through me. Fortunately, I see somebody else approaching us that will give me an out. Oh, hi, Hanako. I give her a welcoming wave and try my best at looking like I haven't noticed Emmy's pouting face. She gives a small wave back. Hello, Hiseo. Emmy. Hey, Hanako. I'll join you and Lily in a sec. Actually, speaking of lunchtime company, it's odd to see you without Rin, Emmy. Ah, Rin! Without a second word, she forgets all about us and bolts up the hallway. She must have forgotten she was waiting for her. Hanako and I stand speechless, only able to helplessly stand and watch this ball of seemingly boundless energy dash off. Oh yeah, Hiseo. She suddenly stops herself just before vanishing around the corner to the rooftop staircase, spinning around to meet our bemused faces. I hate English too. And with that, she disappears. All I can do is hang my head and give a long sigh, thoroughly left in the dust. As I hear a short giggle coming from behind me, I turn to see Hanako smiling at the corner my attacker rounded. I pick up my drop bag from the floor and quickly dust it off. Afternoon. Been busy? You don't like English? Nah, I had a test on it a while back and Emmy caught me brooding about the results. Sorry. She averts her gaze, guilt written onto her face. A casual observer would think she just accidentally reminded me of a dead relative. Come on, it's not your fault. How are you doing in it? She looks up, though still avoids meeting my eyes. Alright, I suppose. An awkward silence passes. They seem all too common around Hanako. Oh, Lily asked if you'd like to join us for lunch on the roof. Guess I don't exactly have any pressing engagements to attend to. Sure, I'll be right up. I'll go get my lunch from the cafeteria now, then. Go on, you don't need my approval to leave, you know. Okay, I'll be going then. She gives a skittish reply, a small nod, and quickly makes off towards the cafeteria. Guess she must have forgotten to bring lunch today. As I walk through the hallways, more and more students start to come out of the classrooms and pass me, going in the same direction as Hanako went. By the time I manage to make it to the stairs, I'm having to push my way past a busily chatting throng of students. I finally manage to get past the last of the crowd and around the staircase, slumping slightly in relief and slowing my pace before I open the door to the roof. Damn. Momentarily avert my eyes, all but blinded by the harsh summer sun. As I slowly regain my vision, the surroundings finally take form. Lily, Emmy, and Rin sit together on the rooftop, the top of the hilltop forest around Yamaku visible past the fence around them, as if to frame the view. Ah, Hiseo! Lily and Rin give a quick nod of acknowledgement and a deep nod of greeting, respectively. I start walking towards the rather mismatched trio, and can't help but marveling at the speed with which Emmy devours the rest of her half-eaten banana. Hey, strange to see you three together like this. It seems to have been quite the day of coincidence. Emmy and Rin decided to eat on the roof, just as Hanako and I decided to. You stole it. This spot was ours. Simmer down, you can't steal a place in the school. I plunk myself down beside Lily, the four of us creating a semicircle. I think she is right. You too? The butterfly is her accomplice. As I glance around, sure enough, a small yellow butterfly floats across my field of vision. Oh, what is with my throat right now? So, tell me, how did this butterfly help Lily steal this spot? It scouted out our conversation and told her. I should have known better than to expect sound reasoning from Rin. Regardless, I guess it wouldn't hurt to play along. You're telling me she can talk to butterflies? There are people who can talk to horses, called horse whisperers. Lily must be a butterfly whisperer. I bury my head in my hands as Rin rounds on her strange companion. She doesn't seem to share Rin's sense of humor. Whispers don't work like that. Emmy and Rin continue their banter as I turn to Lily, who's busily finishing off her small box of curry and rice. So what brought you up here anyway? A little fresh air every now and again doesn't hurt. Ah! Emmy breaks off from her vain attempts to introduce the concept of logic to Rin. That was why we came up here too. Something tells me it was her idea alone and that Rin only got dragged up here on Emmy's whim. Then again, the same could probably be said of Lily and Hanako. Now, we can share. The creaking of the door to the roof can be heard as soon as she says the words. A moment of silence falls over us as everyone's attention focuses on the figure appearing from it. Hanako slowly walks over to us, her eyes pinned to the ground, silently ruining the attention she's attracting. She tenses, just barely, when her eyes meet Rin's. I can't help raising an eyebrow as she walks over to us and sits next to me, doing her utmost to avoid looking up even as she brings her cafeteria bread to her mouth. So, how do you and Emmy know each other anyways? Emmy's somewhat well known around the school for her athletic ability. She's the fastest member of the track and field club by some margin, even beating Miki Miuri at the track meet last week. Miki? Oh yeah, Miki's her name. Ah, that tanned girl from the front of my class. Considering her height and toned body, being able to beat her is quite an accomplishment. Looking over to Emmy, it's very clear she's well aware of this fact as she beams proudly. So, Hiseo, what was your score in English? Ouch. No comment. Boo. She puffs her cheeks and pouts, but it doesn't take long for her to bounce back. Alright, if I tell you mine, you have to tell me yours. Deal? Fine. Okay, on the count of 3, we both say our results. 1, 2, 3. 32. I beam a mischievous grin. Ah, evil. You said it, not me. Still, the fact that you managed an even lower score than me is kind of amazing. He looks and sounds like a small terrier growling at an intruder. I can't say it's the most threatening sight I've seen. Either way, scoring higher than 32 isn't something to boast about, much less scoring below it. For any subject. Yes, Lily. Sorry, Lily. I could help you with your English if you'd like. It would be my pleasure to. No, that's fine. But I appreciate the thought. Really. Lily looked slightly deflated, her hopes of imparting her knowledge dashed. Judging from the badly hidden laughter of the rest of us, neither she nor Emmy seemed to have garnered too much pity. As I sit happily laughing, though, I feel my voice suddenly cut off as my chest clenches. I sit in silence for a few seconds, all my concentration forced on my heartbeat. It's only a small pain, but the ache feels like it's growing. Breathe deeply. Breathe deeply. I glance upward to try and keep up at least some of my attention on my surroundings. To see Emmy suddenly freezing when she notices the expression of pain on my face out of the corner of her eye. Hey, Yukihyou, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I look back down and redouble my efforts to try and stay calm, clenching my fist to try and dull the pain. It takes a short time, but the pain, thankfully, begins to fade. When I look back up, there's only silence and pensive faces to be seen. Guess I'd better explain myself. Arrhythmia. It's fine. It's just a heart flutter. Are you sure? Should we get the nurse? Taking her cue, Hanako quickly picks herself up and begins to dash to the door. Hanako, stop. Lily, I'm fine. You look like a wet, wrinkled tomato. Huh? As I bring my hand to my forehead, I can feel the beads of sweat gathered on it and dab them off with my cuff. Thanks. I told you I'm fine. I'm just kind of fragile, I guess. The entire atmosphere's changed from one of gaiety to downcast faces, the situation being too awkward for anyone to know exactly how to react. And of course, the whole thing is thanks to me. It just had to happen now, around others. Oh, Emmy? She looks up, a box of juice halfway to her mouth. I haven't told you of my score yet, have I? Yeah, well, you're half foreign, so your score doesn't count anyway. Lifting an eyebrow, I inquisitively turned to Lily. What was your test result anyway? She gives a cheeky grin. 100%. Perfect score. No way. All I can do is hang my mouth open and wonder. Considering those tests are insane even for some native speakers, I can only imagine she's gone and done something like committing to mind part of the dictionary. A gift for root memorization, maybe. That's... See, only someone part foreign could get a score that good. See... There... Lily and I grin at Emmy's expense. Her reaction identical to mine when I'd first tripped on that little landmine. Lily's foreign ancestry does raise a point, though. No, that's right. You leave tomorrow for Scotland, don't you? That's correct. Emmy heard some rumors about it. It seemed word spreading quickly, considering I only told a friend in my class a couple of days ago. It must be so nice to go halfway around the world on a holiday. Hey, could you buy me something while you're there? Don't be too shy now. Lee gives a lighthearted giggle, evidently fully expecting Emmy's bluntness. The rest of the lunch continues much the same as before, the jauntiness from before my heart flutter thankfully returning in full. As everyone files off with the appropriate farewells, only Lily and I are left. Hey, Lily? She packs the last of her things into her bag and clips it shut before perking her head up slightly. Thanks for breaking the silence back there. I kind of wanted to stop it, but didn't really know how to. As much as I'd like to sound less morose about it, the letter from yesterday, screwing up a test so badly in class, and now my heart make things very hard indeed. She gives an indulgent smile and nods. I hope she hasn't picked up on it, but knowing her, it's unlikely that she hasn't. Emmy's strong, but only human. We do worry about you, Yukihyou. Hold on, why would I worry you? Her smiling face collapses, becoming uncomfortably serious. Yukihyou, we are not ignorant of your situation. She suddenly cuts herself short, unsure of whether she should say what she intends to. I give a weak smile and rest my hand on her shoulder. Don't. It's enough that I worry about it. I don't want you all to shoulder my burden. But if you all worry about it, I have to worry about your worrying, if that makes sense. I'm fine, okay? For a moment, she looks to be lost in thought, carefully pondering how to react. Hiseo, do you have any paper left from your food's packaging? I think so. I'll just check. I rummage around in my bag for the leftovers from lunch, eventually finding a paper square for my sandwich's package. My eyebrows raised and my expression rather quizzical, I gently place the square into Lily's hand. Without another word, she brings her fingers around it to feel out its edges. This should be large enough. With both of us seated on the roof, the minutes to the lesson ticking away, she proceeds to lay the item on the ground and begin her work in earnest. Wrapped in silence, I watch her fingers move about on the small square with amazing dexterity. A small fold here, a larger fold there. Her fingertips keep a slow but sure pace. Looking up, her expression is calm and placid. The fact her face is pointed well above the sheet in front of her makes the sight of her work all the more curious. Her shoulders slump a bit after finishing one final fold, her work apparently done. It's only when she holds the item up in her hand that I realize what it is. Small origami crane. Light brown thanks to the packaging used, the result looks quite delicate and precise. You can do origami? I taught myself how to do it when I was younger. It improved my dexterity a bit. Huh. A little baffled, I carefully take the small bird from her pale cupped hands, as if it would break from the slightest breath. It seems to be folded quite well, and holds its shape easily. We both grab our bags and head out the door, Lily extending her cane as she does so. I hold Lily's handiwork up to my face for further inspection while we walk down the hallway, her hand running along the silver handrails for orientation. If she taught herself origami to improve her dexterity, with the use of her hands meaning so much to her given her condition... so that's it. I smile as I realize the bird's meaning. Everyone here has had to find their own ways of dealing with their conditions. You aren't alone here when you have your problems. Thanks, Lily. I appreciate this. She gives a sweet smile and a nod, not using words where none need be used, in her typical manner. All I ask is that you take care of yourself, Hiseo. Don't worry. I will. Promise? Promise. And with that, we part ways. To be honest, I don't know what annoys me more. The fact that I could die at any moment, or the fact that everyone knows that. I guess I'll just take each day as it comes, as the unexpected present in my hand reminds me, I'm not alone here. Even though I may be like this, I'm not alone. If they worry, if anyone worries, I'll smile. I'll smile enough for all their worries to go away. Yeah, you'd think that would be like a perfect place to, end the act, but no, we've still gotta... Lily still has to leave. Fun fact, though. Little Wing, that last scene, is the only scene in the entire game that has 4 of the 5 romantic interests. The only one. It's interesting. Cool, though. I think this one is... Yeah, this one's fairly short. Alright. Final scene. The moment the bell rings out, a collective sigh of relief comes from everyone. Much of the morning's been taken up by a droning lecture on stoichiometry, a topic entirely unbefitting of the insufferable heat permeating the classroom. Knowing that attempting to teach anything more would be an exercise in futility, Mutoy gives up and begins clearing the teaching materials from his desk for the day. As meaningless banter starts filling the classroom, I notice Hanako getting up and coming to my desk. She's been a lot less withdrawn lately, something which gives me a small measure of satisfaction. Hello, Hiseo. Hey, want to go pick up Lily then? It's close to the time shouldn't she need to get going if she's going to make the flight? About that. She said she might be held up a bit by her classmates. I suppose that makes sense. Her class usually gets off a little earlier than ours, so Lily would normally have just come to her classroom. Her class must be sending her off. Well, never mind. We can wait outside her classroom for once, right? She gives a small giggle before nodding, the two of us taking our things and leaving for 3-2's classroom. When we reach our destination, I stop in idle amusement at the scene inside. One of the shorter girls from the class has Lily wrapped in an enthusiastic hug, her head no higher than Lily's chin. Her other friends, of which there are several, are gathered around her as well. Lily simply smiles kindly and hugs her back. I guess Lily must be pretty popular. Compared to Shizune's harsh but fair dictatorship of 3-3, Lily seems more like a mother figure for 3-2, to say nothing of her height and looks. Kenji's pointedly cool demeanor as he packs up his things at the seat in the back corner of the classroom is expected. He's no doubt far from a fan of the fuss being made about Lily's leaving. Looking beside me and seeing Hanako following my gaze, I decide to finally enter the room. Afternoon, Lily. It's just me and Hanako. Hanako withers noticeably when exposed to the din being made around Lily. Try as she might, I doubt she'll ever completely get over her social anxiety. Hello. Lily manages to work out our position reasonably well, her classmates detaching herself without a second word. A look of slight exasperation is written on Lily's face, though I can't say I blame her. Hello, Hiseo, Hanako. Do we have much time before the flight leaves? Give a quick glance at my watch. Taking the trip to the airport into account, there's a good 10, maybe 15 minutes left while still allowing for contingencies. Yeah, we still have a few minutes to kill. I wouldn't worry about missing it yet. Is this Hanako? Uh-oh. I think we've just inadvertently become entangled in Lily's social web. Girl is probably part of the legally blind faction of the class like Kenji, given her almost windowpane-like spectacles. Her short, roughly cut hair gives her a look that fits her excitable expression. Hello, She takes Hanako's hand and pulls it up and down enthusiastically. I really don't get how girls can be so social to someone they only knew as the friend of a friend. While Hanako exchanges nervous greetings, I look around the room for my short and overdressed next-door neighbor. Try as I might, he seems to have slipped out of the classroom without anyone noticing. For a moment I think of... oh my god, 1 second. Boy, a week off from reading this has not helped me. It's only been 3.5 hours. I should not be this troubled by my reading. For a moment I tried to think of possible career paths that could reasonably benefit from his single skill, before putting my mind to more pertinent matters. Lee seems pleased, if somewhat guarded about the enthusiasm. Hanako's suddenly excited from those around her. She might not see it, but Hanako's much less panicked about the affair than I'd anticipated. Shuffling my way through the gaggle of classmates, I eventually managed to reach her. Don't worry, Hanako's fine. Thank you. I thought she might be overwhelmed by them. Don't worry, we'll be gentle. Both of us grimace in unison. Hanako's nervous grin stays plastered on her face as another couple of girls moves in to meet her. It's kind of amazing that even just a month ago, she'd never have been able to cope with a situation such as this. Even when I first met her, the two of us completely alone, she sprinted from the library. So, got everything you need? It's all packed. I just have to go to my room to pick it up on the way, and Hanako and I need to change. I guess we'd better get going. I guess we'd better get going then. Hanako? Hanako's head flicks up towards us in a flash, her face rather unmistakably appreciating the chance to extricate herself from the small group gathered around her. Coming. The long taxi ride to the airport is surprisingly pleasant, despite the three of us being rather squashed together to fit in the small back seat. On the other hand, maybe despite isn't the right word. Lily pays the fare to the driver as we file out, Hanako's eyes flittering left and right. Thankfully, there aren't too many people around, most of them being inside the main building rather than milling around outside. Isn't hard to spot Akira and Hideki leaning against a fence while talking to pass the time. A large black travel bag, complete with wheels and travel handle, leans against the fence alongside them. Hideki's the first to notice us, pointing us out to Akira, who gives an over-enthusiastic wave. Hey! Hey! I grab Lily's travel bag for her as we go to meet the two, earning a nod of appreciation. Got all my stuff here. You got yours? Plane ticket as well? Don't worry, I have everything. You? Yep, all ready to go. Now without some problems along the way, I might add. The Snyder Mark has his head roughly dragged around by a very firmly clamped on hand. Yeah, kinda sorta forgot it was in my trousers pocket. Chaz that I'd put in the wash. Oh no. Don't worry, don't worry. Did you know you can print out tickets if you order online nowadays? It's really cool. Hideki's pained expression says that this wasn't a solution found quickly. It could have been worse, I guess. We'd better start off then. Check-in should be ready by now. I'm losing Lily's voice. Yeah, you're right. A certain amount of wistfulness in both their voices. To say nothing of the people left behind. Meeting their family again after all these years would be big for them. Lily. Hanako wraps Lily in a gentle hug to say goodbye, one which is warmly reciprocated. Lily and I share a brief hug afterwards, each of us saying our goodbyes. Besides us, Akira and Hideki break off from a small hug, and a word or two between them. It would probably look quite nice if not for the almost comical height difference between the two. Lily takes a hold of her sister's arms once all that needs to be said in farewells is said, the two walking past the huge glass doors. Goodbye, Hiseo. Hanako. See ya. Don't do anything stupid, shorty. We wave at them until they disappear from sight in the throng of people moving about inside. And then, we're alone. Well, that's that. I turn to see Hideki already beginning to walk off. See ya. He throws a hand in the air, in a manner I'd expect of Akira. In the end, it's just Hanako and me left standing outside. I rest my hand on her shoulder. She absent-mindedly gazes toward the front doors of the building, as if she might catch a glimpse of either of the two before they disappear. Don't worry. The time will pass fast. She hesitates for a moment, but eventually nods. With the scorching heat of the summer sun beaming down on us, we make our way to the nearby bus stop. It's strange, really. Just when I'd begun to see Lily differently, she leaves on what almost feels like a pilgrimage to the past. In a way, though, that's just what I've been doing since coming to Yamaku. As much as I may reflect on everything that's happened to me, I really am hardly unique. Everyone has their own circumstances and separate paths to get to where they are now. Yet I still can't really work out how I should proceed. My life may have practically been reset, and I still can't find anything that satisfactorily fills the hole I still feel in myself. Maybe Lily's leaving will be a good thing for me. Without her to lean on, I'll need to do more for myself. I'll have to be there for Hanako as well. It feels strange to have so much changing so quickly after my months in that hospital that seemed to exist so separately from reality, but that's all the more reason for me to keep focused. I can't let any opportunity slip out of my fingers in my attempt to rebuild my life. Act 3. Present. There we go. The first two. The first two acts of Miss Lilly Satou. Like I told you, Sarabanda. Jukebox is complete. Easiest one to complete, honestly. Look at our gallery. All the Hanako stuff has not changed, but here's all the Lily stuff. Sleeping Lily, the origami crane. Nothing else after that yet. And all that. I think we should be... Oh, 2 scenes left. Because we got Lilly's little cutscene today. 52%. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, like I thought, there was only one special scene. I suppose it was 2. I think we actually had 10, and then now we have 8. So that means, I think they might split them evenly. That Emmy and Rin have 4 each. Could be wrong though. We look through all this. We have our 8 acts here. So, to talk about timeline as well. If you remember, by the way, Act 3 has 12 scenes and 4 decisions. Just so you know. So that'll be, got, what is it? 3. We have two NSFW scenes in the next one, by the way. 4 choices, 2 NSFW scenes, 12 scenes total. Ooh. It's gonna be kind of hefty. That works out. Hopefully I will have regained my vocal stamina that I had before the week-long break. No, but yes, timeline. So that trip to Scotland is the same one that Lilly takes in Hanako's route, obviously. And so the entirety of Hanako's Act 4 takes place in the time frame that Lilly's Act 3 takes place in. So it kind of gives you a sense of scope. I think I said it, Shizune's route takes place over the most amount of in-game time, because you get to, like, the last day of school. So you go through, like, basically the full semester. Hanako's is very condensed into that summer. Lilly's goes a little bit past it, but not as far as Shizune's goes. Emmy and Rin, I believe, both take place in a time frame in between Hanako's and Lilly's. So, just if you wanted a sense of scope for everything, it's how it all shakes out. A fun thing as well. The only thing we have to do for end wrap up is actually just see the neutral ending, and that's not even. I think it. Let me actually see it. Oh, don't close that. For complete CG and scene collection after Lily's path, if you choose to drop the subject at the final choice, you will receive her neutral ending. Yep, that's it. So, wrap up is going to be fairly easy too. Pretty fun. Let me pop over here. Let's turn the BGM back on. So we're not sitting inside. We sat in silence a lot today. There's a lot of BGM-less scenes in Lily's route so far. Ba-boom. No more Yukari. Okay, let me... Because I'm going to forget to turn it off otherwise. There we go. Gotta make sure to turn off Yukari Misha. But yeah, that's our stream for today. It's so nice to be back. Haven't missed a beat, another 3.5 hour long stream. No stream tomorrow. Got some busy stuff working afternoon to evening, so no real time for any of that. But Wednesday we'll be back with Act 3 of Miss Lilly Satou's route. And then Thursday will be Elden Ring. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stream that. It's kind of just there. And then Friday, of course, will be Act 4 and final wrap-up for Lilly. And that means we'll have 3 routes completed. Over halfway. Like, we're over halfway through scenes already. 48% of scenes left. CG is still a fair amount, but it happens. Yay. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. Just other things later on, but I'll get to those as those come up. If you enjoyed the stream, you know, I would, we're still on that road to 100 subscribers. We're closing in. We're 9 away. Hey, very much looking forward to, getting all that going. And also leave a like, subscribe. I said that already. Bell, comment, all that, you know, algorithm. Follow me on Twitter for updates on things. I haven't had much to update on recently, but if you like this stream, you'll probably like my dumb tweets, so. Twitch for Gorilla streams, more frequent later on. And yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I hope you enjoyed your time in this stream. And I hope to see you in the next one. Be safe and be well. OhaHyou, everyone. Bye-bye.